Welcome to Pub Sports Radio's NFL Beat the Lines show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We have week 16 going on right now, and for the first time all year, week 15 is on as well. We have two Tuesday games going on as we speak that are affecting how we're going to look at some of these week 16 spots. So right now we have, unbelievably, the Redskins with Garrett Gilbert under center up 10-0 on the Eagles. Philadelphia fans supposed to be losing their minds. And we have the Rams up 3-0 on what would have been a very easy under. And I almost bet the under in Seattle-Chicago at 43, and I was humming and hawing. And then it was pulled off the board, of course, because this game started. I was just too lackadaisical. And we got a great group joining us. We got Dennis Garcia, Tasha B-Ball, Curtis Barry in the house. We got Viper NB first in the chat. And we have my co-host, as always. Usually we are shooting very close to each other in Toronto, but not tonight. I'm in Los Angeles, and he is in Toronto, Ontario. Please welcome to the show, Rob Bebenek in the house. Bebsie, how are you, my friend?
Jimmy, I'm doing wonderful. I love your setup so much down in LA. I'm expecting you to crack open a book and read to me. And something not like I expect Edgar Allan Poe, something like that. Or some Dostoevsky. You're not reading me trash. You're reading me proper literature.
I am reading you proper literature here at my dad's house. Thank you for enjoying the background as it is right now. It is getting dark. It's getting dark early, so it's a different background. But I'm rocking my Raiders jersey, and I'm ready to rock. I feel good. Terry Walker in the house. We got Ron Crawford, Joe Rich. Dennis Garcia says, really have nothing to contribute. Did actually zero work on the card. It is a tricky card. Let's review what happened last week and then go into this week. I've made no bets on this card, although I came so close to betting the under 43 in Seattle, Chicago. There's Nuke Worker ready to go since I was going to bet tonight's NFL games, but then I went and got a tooth pulled. Oh, God. Well, hope you're drugged up, ready to get to work.
Hope you're feeling
I'm
good,
coming off.
Nuke.
Yeah, big nuke in the house. I'm coming off almost, is it an identical week as week 14? Almost. So I continued my streak here. It's my 8th winning week in a row, but I went 4-3 plus 0.55 units. And on week 14, I went 5-4 plus 0.55 units. You would think somebody that's on an 8-week winning streak in NFL would be up, healthy double-digit units. That's not the case for me. I was on my way to a giant week, though. Arizona, Detroit under 47.5 cash. Dallas, New York Giants under 44.5 cash. Giants team total under 16.5 cash. The Tennessee, Pittsburgh over 41.5 was a miss. But then I had Steelers -1 from the Sunday show. So I was 4-1 going into last night's action. And then Vikings team total over 23.5 missed. And the Minnesota-Chicago over 44 was clearly a bad move. And then I felt it. I felt it all week when it wasn't moving off that number of 44. I felt like I was in trouble. So 4-3 plus 0.55 units. Bebsie, you're coming off a 2-4 week. Your sides and totals are fine. It's just these player props are hurting you. The Allen and Chuba Hubbard props didn't cash for you, but on Sunday you went 2-1. You had Dallas, New York Giants under 45, which cashed. You had the Packers team total over 23.5, which cashed easily, and then you lost the Broncos -1.5 at plus 100. Anything you want to talk about from last week's action?
Other than Chuba missing by 1.5 yards? No. There's nothing I want to talk about.
Okay. All right. Real Deal Prime says in 100 years, I would not have seen Tampa Bay getting 0. Slatsy in the house had tail birdie and grabbed Colts early and under 47 and Cowboys, Washington football team, NHL done for a while. And there is birdie right now as we speak. Yes. But football's here. So let's focus on that. Jojo Rich grabbed the live under on this one. It's a nice spot to be in. I should have realized it. I did not realize it. My dad does have action on the Rams -7. So, and he did cut me in on the bet because I guess he could tell that I didn't care very much about it. I should have focused more on what was going on and hammered the under, which was a mistake. But lock it out. That was a mistake. But let's move on to today's action. We've got my man Dell on the ones and twos producing the show. Thank you for working with us tonight, Dell. Jose Bouquet is at the UTSA game live right now, and they're up 7-0 with 5 minutes left in the. Oh no, San Diego State just scored a touchdown. So we'll keep an eye on that game. But this is an NFL show. We're on a big winning streak, even though I don't have a season full of victories to show for it. It's still good enough. Let's get to work. Bebsie, my friend, I did pour myself a beverage. Are you drinking this evening, Bebsie?
Not currently, no, but odds of that changing are pretty good.
This does taste delicious. Are you off now from work this week?
I am. Well, I'm working from home.
Okay.
So,
right.
Yes.
Jared DG says, evening, Jimmy. Missed having the show this morning. Let's try to figure out how to navigate all this BS. There's Ron Crawford in the house giving out more glory. He's on the Lightning play of the day, NHL. Is that a play of the day that I should keep for record keeping, Ron? Because usually those are in capitals. So let me know if it is. All right, let's get to work right now. We start Thursday, December 23rd, 8:20 p.m. San Francisco 49ers, 8-6, 5-2 on the road at Tennessee Titans, 9-5, 5-2 at home. Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, 51 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour is the weather expectation. I told my dad about the Niners action that I have. Now it's only $50 on each bet, so I shouldn't even bring it up. But the 30-1 on the NFC and 61 on the Super Bowl, and he thinks it was just a trash action. That's what he thinks. He thinks I'm just a homer, and it's a terrible bet, and they have no chance of winning. I don't think that's the case. I could not prove that it was not a homer bet, but this Niners team is playing very good football. They've won 2 in a row and 5 of 6. This opened up with San Francisco -3 at -125 at Bet365. We're going to use Bet365 openers for this show, although I do have Pinnacle and Circa and different books up, FanDuel for line shopping for Bebsie. And it quickly moved to 3.5. So it's at 3.5 at -110, and I've got no problem with that. I think that's a fine number. The total is also sitting at 44.5, and I don't know how Tennessee is going to score many points against this Niners defense. This Niners team comes in off a dominant 31-13 victory at home over Atlanta. Jimmy G was 18 of 23 for 235 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. George Kittle had another great game. 6 catches for 93 yards. Deebo Samuel caught 4 passes, for 60 yards and ran 6 times for 29 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel has run for a touchdown in his past 5 games. That he's got 7 on the year, but 5 straight games running for a touchdown. That's the 3rd longest streak for San Francisco since the merger, which is hard to believe. Raheem Mostert, 6 in 2019, and Derek Loville, 6 in 1995. Some big names missing from that list. Jeff Wilson ran 21 times for 110 yards and 1 touchdown. The defense swarmed Matt Ryan, sacked him 3 times. Bosa got his 15th sack of the season, gives him sacks in 6 straight games. That's the longest run for a 49ers player since Aldon Smith did it 7 straight games in 2012. And he's 4.5 sacks shy of Smith's franchise record, 19.5 sacks this season. This Niners red zone defense was excellent. Now, I'm interested to hear if Bebsie thinks it's the 49ers defense that's excellent or the Falcons' putrid offense, red zone offense. Falcons ran 13 plays from the 10-yard line or closer and didn't score a touchdown. 13 plays from the 10-yard line or closer and didn't score a touchdown. That ties for the second most plays that close to the end zone without a touchdown since 1991. Atlanta was stopped on 5 plays from the 1-yard line. The Niners announced that Emmanuel Mosley won't be back until Week 18 at the earliest. Safety Tarvarius Moore is done for the season with an Achilles injury. Talanoa Hufanga, knee left in the first half and didn't return. He's a safety. He's dealing with a knee sprain. He's listed as questionable. Azeez Al-Shaair is questionable with his elbow injury. Defensive tackle Maurice Hurst, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, and running back Elijah Mitchell are all expected out. For these Titans, they come in off a 19-13 loss at Pittsburgh. They were up 13-3 at the half, and then were shut out the rest of the way. They've lost 3 of 4. They turned the ball over 13 times over those 4 games. Curtis Berry says Tannehill looks a lot like he did in Miami. Play action hasn't been working as well without Henry. Titans secondary doesn't look much better. But Tasha says Titans upset the 49ers. That's from Tasha. Terry Walker liking San Francisco. Tannehill was 23 of 32 for 153 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. 23 completions for 153 yards. He was also sacked 4 times. This Titan team did fumble the ball 5 times, losing 3 of them. Julio Jones tweaked his hamstring late in the second quarter, didn't return. He hasn't taken part in practice this week so far. He's considered questionable. There were positives. The running game was strong. They ran 42 times for 201 yards. Donta Foreman ran 22 times for 108 yards. They controlled possession for more than 35 minutes. They went 39 minutes, 39 minutes of possession. 8 of 18 on third down. But the receivers continually hurt the Titans with drops and fumbles. Westbrook Akine led the way with 4 catches for 32 yards. The defense was strong. So maybe the under is a very simple play here. The defense was strong. The Steelers only put up 168 yards. Zach Cunningham made his Titan debut at 6 tackles. As a team, they had 3 sacks. A.J. Brown has been designated to return from injured reserve. How much is that going to help this offense? We'll let Bebsie touch on that. Cornerback Elijah Molden was placed on the COVID list on Monday. We're going to be talking a lot of COVID talk. Offensive tackle Taylor Lewan and guard David Quisenberry were inactive. Their list is questionable this week. Cornerback Chris Jackson was designated to return from injured reserve Monday. So they're going to have Chris Jackson back. They're going to have A.J. Brown back. And Derrick Henry says that he will be back as early as the team's Week 18 matchup with the Texans. Bebsie, how do we cash in this spot? Is the under live? Do you like the Niners here? Take it away.
Well, just making it official for Real Deal Prime.
As you should.
Bear with me 1 second.
Oh, good stuff. I'll cheers to that.
Oh, there it is.
Cheers.
Okay. Well, listen, I hate to say it here, but I think I agree with Tasha on this one. This is a tough spot for the Niners. Every time we've thought they're going to do well this year, they absolutely do not. And now they're going all the way to Tennessee on a short week, coming off a very handy win for San Francisco. I'm not going to say easy win because I think the score maybe indicated more of a blowout than that game was. If it weren't for the red zone failures, which I think are both on the offense of the Falcons, but also the defense of the 49ers stepped up. Got to give them credit. But what the Falcons didn't do is exploit this secondary. And, they are vulnerable in that secondary. So far this season, opposing quarterbacks facing Ambry Thomas have a perfect passer rating. So that's going to be an issue, especially with you're facing Tennessee coming off a tough loss. A weird ending with a weird spot. But you're coming off a bad loss to the Steelers. You're at home facing the Niners, who they're not cruise control by any means, but they've been one of the hotter teams in the NFL. The key to the Niners winning this game is their run game. And without Elijah Mitchell, you're relying heavily on Jeff Wilson Jr., who is a beast when he's healthy, and he has been. But as just a bell cow, I worry about it. So I think I would lean Tennessee. Excuse me, I understand why people are taking the money line on this one. I don't have a lot of faith in the Niners crossing country on a short week. But I think the safest play here would be the under. I think this ends up being 2 teams that struggle to score a little bit. And if the San Francisco 49ers are going to win this game, they have to control the clock running the ball. And if that's the case, then that also helps your under out.
So let's talk about, do we expect Julio Jones to be in the lineup, or is A.J. Brown going to come back and Julio Jones will be out? Start there.
Sorry, say that again?
Do you expect Julio Jones to be in the lineup, or do you think the hamstring injury will keep him out? Because if Julio Jones is back and A.J. Brown makes his return to the lineup, then I think the secondary can be touched. If Julio Jones can't make it back from his hamstring injury and then A.J. Brown is back, I still don't know how vulnerable they're going to be against Tannehill.
Well, here's the thing. The 49ers pass rush does an excellent job making up for some of the deficiencies in the secondary. Look, they have strong safeties. Ward and Tart are very underrated safeties, especially when they're healthy, which so far they have been. Julio, I agree with what Slatsy's saying here. Julio isn't a huge factor, healthy or not. It's just that presence on the field of Julio Jones. I have to think if he's not 100%, Tennessee would be crazy to play him because you need him healthy for the playoffs. If they're going to make any kind of push, they need Derrick Henry back. They need Julio Jones back. And if AJ Brown is back, I think he makes an impact regardless because he's facing. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna follow him with, but they still have Josh Norman and Ambry Thomas, who, I mean, Ambry Thomas is having some tough luck. He's been mossed a couple times. He is still a rookie and he didn't play last year in college because of COVID. So I think he'll be better than he is playing. And I do want to touch on what Birdie said here. That's not true. I faded them 2 out of the last 3 weeks. And I didn't. I faded them 3 weeks ago. I was for them, then against them last week. I still thought they'd win. I just said they didn't beat the spread. And here I mean, I'll go head to head and fight you if you want.
Well, I can hit that. I can reach over. I did bring the computer close enough for me to be able to reach over just for situations like this, just to be able to tap the most exciting part of this show.
It's fuck you, Birdie. We're fighting. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh shit. Let's touch on this and then we'll move on. Birdie says I like the under here. Dupree makes such a big difference. He's been out almost all year, and he does make a big difference. Let's just take a look at where the cash lies in this spot. We have 3,593 tickets in. 59% of the tickets are on the Niners, so they're public. And 82% of the cash, which is why it moved from 3 to 3.5. I bet some big bets came in at 3. Then you have 67% of tickets on the over and 89% of cash on the over. Do you agree that? And that's going to be enough to keep me off of it. Do you agree that Dupree back leans you towards the under in this spot?
Listen, I think the way that Shanahan has Garoppolo running this offense, he gets the ball out very quick. And as great of a player as Bud Dupree is, they're going to be aware of him. I think the biggest concern is Simmons in the middle because the 49ers do not have the strongest inside. Alex Mack is good, but if you get on top of Brunskill, then you got trouble. They got Tom Compton on the other side too. It's all going to come down to if they can run the ball. So if they're playing from behind and they're throwing a lot, then Bud Dupree becomes a big factor. If they're able to run the ball, then they'll neutralize him entirely.
Dan, you've come to the right place. Dan Kelly in the house. You've come to the right place to fix that. Okay, we're going to move on here, but is it possible that this running game led by Deonta Foreman can hurt the Niners and create play action? Is it possible?
Their run game has actually improved quite a bit. When Kinlaw and Hurst went down, they were getting gouged, but DJ Jones is playing. He's healthy now. I don't think he was healthy early in the season, whether he was on the injury report or not. He wasn't playing himself, but they've moved Arden Key inside. And a lot of you guys are probably like, who the fuck is Arden Key? Arden Key was an absolute stud at LSU. He was drafted. He fell in the draft due to some off-the-field issues, but I think he still went early second round, if I'm not mistaken, to the Raiders, where his career was very Raider-like. 3 sacks in 3 years. The Niners have moved him inside. He has 5 sacks in 6 games from the inside. And so he's improving that on passing downs, on run downs. They're getting much better in the middle with some great play from DJ Jones. So it's going to be tough. Teams have struggled to run against the Niners while they've been on this hot streak.
Well, I don't want this to sound too homer, but I think the Niners take care of business here. I think this is a team getting hot at the right time. I can understand the under being a look, but just like I was talked off the under in the Jets Dolphins game, which I'm very thankful for.
Again,
I see.
one thing that favors the Niners in this is it's definitely not a look ahead. They're playing Houston next week. They are, I think, next to the Colts, they might be the hottest team in the NFL right now. I think what hurts them is being in cruise control to that victory last week, and Tennessee losing a stinger, losing a tough loss. So I think Tennessee comes out angry here. Tennessee first half might be a look. But listen, if I'm making a bet in this, I lean Tennessee, but what I do like in this is the under. And I'm surprised that there's all that money on the over here.
Is that something that you would like to make official?
It's still Thursday night football, Jimmy. Listen, I don't even want to watch it. I have to, but I don't want to.
Well, now is the time to switch it all up. So we'll give you a chance to change everything and put in some
Man's
Thursday
got to
night
have
action.
a code, Jimmy.
I'm not going to move on the Niners right now, but I expect to move on the Niners by game time. I don't want the Niners at 4-5, and there's an idea that could happen. I'm very interested to keep an eye on this total to see but I do care more about the early money than I do about the later money. So that's where we stand. There we go. Thursday, December 23rd. That's the big Thursday nighter that we'll all have our eyes on. Let's move on to Christmas Day action. And let's start, and I hate doing this, but by Dan Kelly saying I cried myself to sleep last night. All my futures on the Browns went down the drain last night, and I don't think anybody's as angry as Baker Mayfield. But it was, just awful watching the Browns be put in that situation and fight so hard and still lose on a last-second Carlson field goal. And now here we are, 4:30 p.m. Cleveland Browns 7-7. If they had have won, they'd be in first place in their division. They lost, and they're in last place in their division at the Green Bay Packers, 11-3, 6-0 at home. Although they look more vulnerable than they have in a while, the Packers are still 6-0 at home. We're at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, 33 Fahrenheit. Chance of snow showers 10 miles per hour. Let's start with the market in this spot. This opened up with Green Bay -9. Now that was at +110, so it's really an 8.5 or an 8 even. It's now at 7. So there's 7s right across the board. This total opened up at 45.5. It has dropped to 44.5. When we go to the cash flow here, we have 1,109 tickets in. Very few tickets in. Some books aren't letting you bet this game right now, and it's all Packers money. 86% of the tickets, 99% of the cash. Then you have 47% of the tickets on the under and 83% of that cash on the under. Browns come in off their second loss in 3 games, 16-14 at home versus the Raiders. Extremely costly. They were so ravaged with COVID that the league pushed the game back from Saturday to Monday, and it turned out to make no difference. The 21 players on the COVID list, 1 player returned on Monday. No Baker Mayfield, no Coach Stefanski, 12 regulars, including Jarvis Landry and Jadeveon Clowney, out, and an asymptomatic Mayfield, unable to produce a negative test in time to play. Nick Mullins, 20 of 30 for 147 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, which was his, biggest flaw as a Niner. He just took risks that were not needed. No interceptions. He tried. The whole team tried. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 4 passes for 48 yards. Chubb ran 23 times for 91 yards and a touchdown. The defense battled hard, kept them in the game. They got 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits, and Greedy Williams had an interception. Tack McKinley, torn left Achilles. He's out for the season. It was sad to watch. So let's just start with the Browns, and before we move on to the Packers. And I can refresh this injury report, and it won't matter much for Cleveland here, but this is the latest situation for the Browns. They have everybody out at this point. Baker Mayfield, Case Keenum, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, Jedrick Willis, James Hudson, Malik McDowell, Grant Delpit, Ronnie Harrison Jr., Mac Wilson, Kareem Hunt, Jadeveon Clowney, all out. And nothing's changed at this point. Is this a spot where the Browns, if Mayfield's under center, can come together and rise to the occasion? Or is this a football team that's done for now?
I that's an excellent question. And when I first took a look at this game, I've been flip-flopping on what they're going to do. Because Mayfield historically, let me ask you this, Jimmy. Has Baker Mayfield, historically speaking, been a guy that rises to challenges, shows up when there's adversity, or has he turned into a complete and total pouting, sucky baby?
I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan, but I think he has, in his career, stepped up and risen to the occasion.
You do. I
do.
think the opposite. I think when the chips have been down for Baker and when things don't go right, he's got that Cam Newton thing about him where he's all smiles and jokes and happy when things are going well, and then he turns into a pouty, sucky baby when things are not going well. And I have trouble backing guys like that. And while Baker has played well at times and has showed why he was the number one overall pick at times, he's left a lot out there. Listen, he's obviously very gifted, but Baker to me is a guy who needs everything to be going right for him to play great. And I don't know, look, all these players, if they all come back and, you got 21 guys back, including your head coach. Wait, was Stefanski out? I'm getting this mixed up now.
Yeah, Stefanski missed last game.
Yeah, okay. So you're getting your coach back and all these players. It's like a late season bye for them. So on that, I want to back the Browns, but it's Baker's the big question mark for me. And I have trouble putting a lot of faith in Baker because, to me, he hasn't been great in dire situations.
I get all that, and I get all that. Let's take a look at the Packers right now. Birdie says, I do like the Browns here. This is a non-conference game. Green Bay has Minnesota on deck. This has flat spot written all over it. I'm letting this line climb, and then Browns will be bet. And I agree. If you guys have any interest on the Browns, I think regardless of everybody coming back, it's not going to move in the Browns' favor. I don't think so.
I want to agree with Birdie here too. I really think it's a Browns or no play on this one.
I think so too. Let's talk about the Packers here. They're coming off their third straight win, 31-30 at the Ravens on Sunday night. They became the first team in the NFL this year to clinch a division title, and they didn't look very good doing it. Aaron Rodgers, 23-31, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He has thrown for 13 touchdowns without a pick in his last 4 games. He's a spectacular quarterback. Marquez Valdes-Scantling caught 5 passes for 98 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Adams caught 6 passes for 44 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Jones ran 13 times for 58 yards. But this defense got picked apart by Tyler Huntley. And I mean no disrespect to Tyler Huntley. I've been extremely impressed with everything he's done this year. The ex-Utah quarterback, the team fights for him, and he plays well. And I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think a team will try to make him their starter next year. Devondre Campbell had 10 tackles in the team's only sack. Kenny Clark remains on the COVID list. Bakhtiari hasn't been seen from, and he's still available, inactive and available. Equanimus Brown, I mean, he's hurt, obviously, but he's not on IR. Equanimus St. Brown, Billy Turner, all inactive last week, listed as questionable this week. Harold Williams says the pack is rolling, and I don't. They do it just enough. They keep doing just enough. I'm not saying they can't win the Super Bowl, but will they do enough here? Talk to me about this Green Bay Packers spot before we move on to the next game.
See, I think this is the same Packers we've seen for the last 4 years. 3 years in a row, 13-3. Now they can't go 13-3, but as good as they've played, and as well as they've played with the injuries that keep mounting. The offense, not their line, but their skill players obviously still being healthy. And Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers is, say what you will about him as a human. He's an unbelievable football player. Maybe the most talented quarterback we've ever seen play. And he plays like that. But I don't want to get ahead of myself and start predicting the playoffs, but Viper posted that they're 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 matchups, but I find them kind of vulnerable here. If Cleveland comes out angry, and I know they're at home, and I know it's Aaron Rodgers, and I know this is all contrary to what one would normally think, contrary to logic even. I just think it's a flat spot for the Niners, especially like you said for the Packers, especially with the Vikings next week. I just think it's a lot of points, and especially if this grows, especially if you're seeing a higher number by Sunday, then I think it's time to bet the Browns.
I do too. So we have to keep a very close eye on everybody coming back from COVID. I'm going to keep a close eye on the line. And I would be more likely to bet the Browns first half than full game at this point.
It's an excellent point from Curtis Berry in the chat too. Browns pass rush versus Packers O-line. I mean, the only thing that neutralizes that is how quickly Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out.
Well, big game. Natasha says, no way I'm taking Cleveland. This is Christmas Day action. We have another game, and it is 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Indianapolis Colts, 8-6, 4-2 on the road at Arizona Cardinals, 10-4, 3-3 at home. We're at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. This one is shaping up to be a beauty. Arizona 1-point favorites. Wow. Opening up at -1 at -110. Now they're -1 at -105. This total opened up at 48.5. It's now at 49.5. Take a look at the cash flow in this spot. We have 2,975 tickets in. 64% of the tickets, 94% of the cash on the Indianapolis Colts. What a difference a couple weeks makes. Then from a totals perspective, we have 63% of the tickets on the over, but just 50% of cash on the over. Rants saying under. Tasha saying under. Viper saying Indianapolis 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 games on the road. And then Dan Kelly says that Browns pass rush just took a huge hit with McKinley with tax injury. It was sad watching him off the field. Ron Crawford, spreadsheet stat play is Arizona. Viper says the total's gone under in 6 of Arizona's last 7 games when playing Indianapolis. Harold Williams says Colts plus 1.5. I've seen enough of the Cardinals. Colts coming off their second straight win and 5th in the last 6 games, 27-17 at home over the Patriots. Their first win over the Patriots since 2009. They were up 20-0 entering the 4th quarter. Carson Wentz went 5 for 12 for 57 yards, a touchdown, interception. That is all he did, but that's all he had to do. Jonathan Taylor did all the damage, running 29 times for 170 yards and a touchdown. He's run for a touchdown in 11 straight games. That ties Hall of Famer Lenny Moore for the longest streak in franchise history. They rushed as a team for 226 yards on 39 carries. Darius Leonard all over the field, 10 tackles, 1 pick. Kerry Willis, 9 tackles. This defense looked excellent, but they did finish with 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits. It doesn't take away how good they looked. Bobby Okereke, sorry, I keep forgetting that he wants his name pronounced different. Bobby Okereke had the team's other interception. The Colts have at least 1 takeaway in 15 straight games. Ryan Kelly missed his 2nd straight game. Last week it was the COVID list, and this week he's dealing with the death of his infant daughter. I'm not sure if he will be back for this game. Safety Andrew Sendejo was placed in concussion protocol. Defensive tackle Antoine Woods was placed on IR due to a calf injury before the game. His season is over. The Cardinals came in off their second straight loss. A shocking 30-12 setback in Detroit to the lowly Lions. They were down 17-0 at halftime. They gained just 17 yards on their first 3 possessions. Since starting 7-0, they've lost 4 of 7 and look very vulnerable. And it's a huge game going on right now in SoFi for the Rams. Kyler Murray was 23 of 41, 257 yards, touchdown, interception. His ankle looks like it's still bothering him. He ran just 4 times for 3 yards. Christian Kirk caught 9 passes for 94 yards and a touchdown. Zach Ertz, 6 catches for 74 yards. Chase Edmonds returned from injury and had 6 carries for 53 yards. James Conner, 8 carries for 39 yards, caught 2 passes for 31 yards. This Cardinals defense couldn't get enough pressure on Goff. They sacked him twice. They hit him 5 times. DeAndre Hopkins went on injured reserve Saturday, underwent surgery for a badly torn MCL this past week, could be back for the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, games that the Cardinals will not be playing in. Defensive end Jordan Phillips is questionable with a knee injury. Wide receiver Rondale Moore hurt his ankle. He's scheduled to undergo an MRI on Monday. I couldn't get information on it. And defensive tackle Zach Kerr was inactive and is listed as questionable this week. Slatsy says Cards aren't stopping Jonathan Taylor. I bet it, but Wentz is always a concern. Colts won last week despite him. Birdie says Arizona 3-4 in their last 7 games. They are broken. All the Zona love is sharp betting analytics like New England last week. Stepping in front of Indy is not a positive EV bet here. I bet Indy money line plus 120. I can't wait to hear Bebsie break this game down. You have been right about these Arizona Cardinals. Take it away.
Look, it got to the point where I just looked like an old man shouting at a cloud. They just kept winning. And I kept saying they're not that good. But if you go look at some of those wins that they had early in the season, because there's people shouting recency bias as to why this number is the way it is. But it's not that recent. You know, it's been a month and a half of the Colts being the hottest team in the NFL. It's been a month now of Arizona falling off. Now, when Arizona was on that win streak to start the year, they had the most fumbles in the NFL over that stretch, with the second fewest lost fumbles. That's bounces. That's bounces going your way. That's in. Look, you got to be good to be lucky. I understand that, but this Arizona team is looking more and more like the team I said they were at the start of the year. A good team, not a great team. This Indianapolis Colts team, before the season, I thought they were going to be absolutely dominant. My only hang-up was Carson Wentz. So far, that looked wrong as hell over the first, few weeks of the season. But now the Colts are on fire, and they're riding an incredible defense and Jonathan Taylor, who I agree. I don't know how the Cardinals are going to stop him. Now, this is a Cardinals team that's banged up. There's stars out. Now that Hopkins is out for a while, I don't see how they move the ball against this Colts defense that's been fantastic. I don't see how they stop Jonathan Taylor. And I understand that they're at home and they're in a must-win situation especially after getting embarrassed by the Detroit Lions. But I don't think they can do it. I was wrong last week when I thought about the Patriots being able to slow down, stop the Colts. I was wrong to get in front of the Colts train. I will not be wrong again this week. I am going to bet the Colts here.
Well, let's line shop. I imagine you want the money line and not the point.
I want the money line and not the point.
Well, let's break this down. First off, Vipe, my man Vipe says Cards offense doesn't look good without D-Hop, but I lean Cards. But I will be on the under. He says that defense should be embarrassed letting Lions go off. Slatsy says 2 teams going in opposite directions. Sometimes recency bias is the truth. B-Ball 619 says Arizona is one of those teams that when everyone thinks they're done, they come out and dominate. By the way, Dell, my producer Dell for the show, it's difficult for me to reach to highlight the comments. So if there are any comments, Dell, that you like, just feel free to highlight them on your own. I should have mentioned that beforehand. My fault. I tell you what, I think that there's truth to all of these comments. And Dennis Garcia saying, where is it here? Dennis Garcia saying, he made it very simple, and I highlighted it. Said, here's a hint. Don't look at last week. Arizona is an easy play. Because of this situation here where the Cardinals have looked so bad, I'm not going to bet the Colts. I'll stay off of it personally. And this to me is a Cardinals or no bet. I think the goal, and obviously you need to have a quantity of action and not a small sample size, but the goal will always be find a spot where you're buying low and find a spot where you're selling high. And I'm not selling the Colts high, but I do think that we can buy low on the Cardinals. In saying that, I don't know if I'm going to move on the Cardinals, but to me, this is a Cardinals or no bet. And at
I
this point,
understand. I understand everything you're saying, and I would say normally that would apply. But both of these teams are shaping up to be who I thought they were to start the season. And they started in complete opposites. I looked dead wrong for the first 2 months of the season on both of these teams. But over the last month and a half, they are who I thought they were.
yeah.
And this isn't a recency bias for me, because you guys can go back and look at all these shows. I've been calling Arizona shit since the start of the year, and I've been, I was on the Colts heavy to start the year. I just think the Colts, especially the Colts defense, is too much for this sputtering Arizona Cardinals offense.
Well, you have options here. Colts are plus 101 at Pinnacle. They're plus 108 at Circa. So that's going to be the best line. I will pull up FanDuel. I thought I had it up. I don't. So I'm going to pull up FanDuel right now, and we're going to have to move on. I'm going to have to speed the pace up of this show, too. It's my fault. These are huge games, so coming before Sunday. But I'll tell you what, there's a very interesting line here at Circa. They're hanging the Colts plus 2.5 at minus 117, which is wild. Does that interest you at all, or do you want to focus on that plus 108?
Yeah, I'll take the plus 108.
All right, I'm going to quickly see if we can beat that here at FanDuel, and then we'll move past this. And also, Dennis Garcia looking at the over as well in this game. But here we go, the plus 102 at FanDuel. Okay, so the best we can get is plus 108. So Bebsie is on the board. Bebsie, Colts, plus 108. Circa Sports. All right, we move on. Respect Real Deal Prime, my man. And wow, touchdown, Seattle Seahawks. Ooh-wee. Okay, Sunday, December 26th. Here we go. We start 1 p.m. Eastern. The Detroit Lions. Welcome to Detroit, baby. 2-11-1, 0-6-1 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons. 6-8, 1-5 at home. It's just $200, but I have $200 on the Falcons. Season win total under 7.5 at plus 100. And it's coming right down to the wire. We're at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's start with the market here in the spot. We have Atlanta opening up at minus 4.5, and they've moved to minus 6. Is that right? Wow. So 1.5 point move over at Bet365. Interesting. This total opened up at 44, and it's now sitting at 43. Terry Walker looking at Detroit here. Clearly, this team is fighting hard for Dan Campbell. Ron Crawford's spreadsheet stat play is on Atlanta. Let's take a look at where the cash lies in this spot. We have 1,374 tickets in, not a lot. 55% of tickets on the Lions, 50% of the cash, 71% of tickets on the over, 32% of cash on the over. And why is that happening? It's because Jared Goff tested positive for COVID on Monday. He was very good last week, 21-26 for 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Wide receiver Quentin Cephas also, and Matt Nelson is also tested positive. So the 3 of them tested positive, and you could be led to believe that there will be more cases on the way. But Jared Goff, he says it just feels like a minor cold. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you saw the market today, and stocks went up. This Omicron is just like a mild cold to a lot of healthy people. And Jared Goff says it's very minor, just a cold. But will he be able to test negative in time. And as it's off the board for Jojo Rich, it's not off the board for me here. The Lions coming off an impressive 30-12 home victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught 8 passes for 90 yards and a touchdown. Josh Reynolds, 6 for 68 and a touchdown. Craig Reynolds. And this goes after watching Craig Reynolds go for a career-high 112 yards a week after having a big week, and then watching Duke Johnson go for 122 yards, all I can think about is Dennis Garcia saying running backs don't matter. Because these guys coming in off the practice roster are as good as the starters. Charles Harris had 12 tackles, 3 for a loss, and 1.5 sacks. Oruware had another excellent game. Is he becoming the best corner in the league? I'd love if, Bebsie, if you could touch on how good he is, because I just think he looks incredible game after game after game. DeAndre Swift, shoulder inactive for a 3rd straight week, but he's expected to practice this week. So DeAndre Swift will be back in the lineup. Jonah Jackson was back, was not cleared to play. Neither was Julian Okwara, Stacey Walker, or Will Holden. They're all listed as questionable this week. Alex Anzalone hurt his shoulder during the game. He's being placed on IR. He's done for the year. And Josh Wood's shoulder was hurt during the game, but no update has been given on the extent of the injury. Birdie says, bet the Lions here, plus 4.5. Atlanta cannot score in the red zone ever. Now I'm expecting Goff to be back. But regardless, Falcons should not be 4.5 or 6-point favorites to anyone. Jojo Rich says, I don't trust Detroit. It's a pass. And Curtis Berry says, I don't trust Atlanta full game. Viper says, the one thing that was proven true with the Lions winning was what we talked about in this chat often, that players hate to lose and being a laughingstock. And they're trying for their coach. Unlike other teams, that's why Urban Meyer had to go. Not that it changed anything last week. Falcons coming off their second loss in 3 games, 31-13 at San Francisco. They've been outscored by 23.8 points per game in 5 matchups against teams that currently have winning records. They won't have to worry about that stat here against the lowly Lions. They were atrocious in the red zone. 13 plays from the 10-yard line or closer without scoring a TD. That's the second most plays that close to the end zone without a touchdown since 1991. Atlanta was stopped on 5 plays from the 1-yard line. Matt Ryan, 19 of 32 for 236 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He also lost a fumble. Russell Gage caught 8 passes for 91 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Pitts caught 4 passes for 77 yards. Their rushing game was awful. They ran 23 times for 62 yards and could do nothing. Mike Davis ran 6 times for 21 yards. Cordero Patterson ran 11 times for 18 yards. Their defense couldn't get stops. They couldn't apply pressure. Jimmy G finished on Jimmy G. They got 0 sacks on Jimmy, 3 quarterback hits. Tajay Sharp left in the second half. He's a wide receiver. He didn't return. There's been no update on his status. Safety Eric Harris was placed on IR before the game. He's done for the season. And defensive tackle Marlon Davidson was inactive for the loss to the 49ers due to a non-COVID illness, and they expect to have him back this week. Here we go, Bebsie. Lions with these question marks around Goff against the Falcons, the ever-sputtering Falcons. Take it away.
Well, I think if you are betting the Lions, you're betting hoping that Goff does play, because I forget the backup now. We saw him earlier in the year, and he turned in the worst performance in NFL history, that's special. There's been some pretty that Nate Peterman 4 interception performance. That's got to be up there. But to be worse than that is something. So really, everything here has to do with Goff. So if Goff is in, I take Detroit. If Goff is out, I take Atlanta. Neither of these teams I have any kind of confidence in. But Detroit is playing. They're playing hard. And, for all the shit talking I've given Dan Campbell this year, and, obviously initial press conference was something, these players clearly love him, and they're playing hard for him. And I wonder how bad they'd be if they, didn't have so many injuries and weren't completely void of talent to start this season off. But they're finding some gems here, and Detroit's playing hard. So for me, it's a pass. I understand why you would want to take Detroit, and I think I would if I was forced to bet here. But again, that has everything to do with Goff playing.
Yeah. You don't want to see Tim Boyle once more?
That's the name. Timmy Boy. Timmy Boy Boyle.
I get it. I get it. But the last time the Detroit Lions won a football game, we faded them the next week and cashed huge. We
Yeah.
also bet their team total under. Now that was the game Goff didn't play, if I remember correctly. I think they won and then Goff was out the next week. I'll have to double check that. But I understand that breakdown. Nothing can be done right now until you find out who's at quarterback for the Detroit Lions. That breakdown was all encompassing the Lions here. Just quickly, and then we'll move on. Are the Falcons a fade moving forward beyond this game?
I think they have to be. Listen, the 6 wins that they have, it's not like that has come against good football teams. They've taken their opportunities to win games against bad teams. They've lost against good teams. Again, I think they played the 49ers tighter than that score suggests. So I don't think they're a complete fade. But listen, they score on some of those 1-yard possessions, and it's a different football game. They couldn't. So, again, it really comes down to a lot of the talent or lack thereof. I mean, Pitts looks like he's going to be every bit the player we thought he would be coming out of Florida. Cordero Patterson has been fantastic this year in whatever role he's being thrust into. But beyond that, with Ridley not playing football, they don't have a lot of playmakers on this team. And Matt Ryan is showing his age and his frustration out there. So I would say if they're playing a good team, fade them hard. But if they're playing a bad team, I think they're still one of those mid-tier teams that can bully bad teams.
Yeah, no, I think that's well put. And if that is the case, they should be able to bully this team here. But we will see. Okay, so I'll tell you this again. So there's no chance I'm betting the Detroit Lions here after their big win. That's just not a situation that I want to back a team like the Lions. So it's Falcons or no bet, which I guess means no bet, because I don't want anything to do with the Falcons either, because I know the Lions are playing with Dan Campbell. All right. And again, last 2 weeks I've both been up just 0.55 units, but we're making very simple bets here, and we're not believing in what we see the week prior. And that's just been working and working and working. Will that slow down as the season comes to a close? We will see. And the mistakes that I've made, the losers that I've made, are all believing in what I saw the week prior, expecting the Bears to put up points, expecting the Vikings to put up points. And I notice, I'm going over and over. Why am I? So if I can completely cut that out of my action, I imagine that I'll be a much better handicapper. All right, let's move on. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Baltimore Ravens 8-6, 3-4 on the road at Cincinnati Bengals 8-6, 3-4 at home at Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. 53 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Bengals open up at 2.5. That's where they stand right now. There's been a 5-cent move towards them at Bet365. This total opened up at 43.5. It's now at 44.5. And this is for AFC North supremacy. Ravens coming off their third straight loss, an impressive, heartbreaking 31-30 loss at home to the Packers behind Tyler Huntley, 28 for 40, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 13 times for 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. Harbaugh said he's hopeful that Lamar Jackson will be able to practice Wednesday. So that's tomorrow, and we'll see if he does. As a team, the Ravens ran 26 times for 143 yards, and spreadsheet stat play is the Chargers. And the Rams just scored a touchdown and have tied it up at 10. Mark Andrews was the Ravens' big threat, caught 10 passes for 136 yards and 2 interceptions. There was a player, I forget who it was, but was wide open in the end zone for that 2-point convert, and everybody knew they were just going to go to Mark Andrews. The loss ended Baltimore's streak of 13 straight wins over NFC teams. Only New England, with 17 in a row from 2005 to 9, had a longer interconference winning streak since the AFL-NFL merger. Patrick Queen had 13 tackles. The Ravens managed 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Linebacker Justin Houston was placed on the COVID reserve Monday. So he joins Jimmy Smith, cornerback Chris Westry, safety Chuck Clark, wide receiver Sammy Watkins, and center Tristan Colon on the list. Guard Tyree Phillips suffered a knee injury in the game. No update was given on the severity of it. Cornerback Tavon Young is in concussion protocol. Defensive end Calais Campbell, guards Ben Powers and Patrick McCarry, and fullback Patrick Ricardo were all inactive last week, listed as questionable this week. And linebacker Pernell McPhee was designated to return from IR on Monday. He'll help. Bengals snapped their 2-game losing streak with a 15-10 win at Denver. Seeing everybody on Sunday on the Bengals was very interesting. And, the market was moving against you guys. Cash was moving against you guys. And all of you guys still wanted the Bengals. And it's too bad that it's Pete Loshak, who'd gone 2-1 in his first 3 shows on the NFL Pub Hub, went 0-2, but he should have gone 2-0. He took the Steelers first half instead of full game, and he took the Bengals team total instead of full game side. Had he done that, he'd be sitting here 8-3 in first place overall in the Pub Hub competition. And instead, he's 6-5 and 8th or 9th place. Joe Mixon. Burrow goes 15-22 for 157 yards, 1 touchdown. He also ran 5 times for 25 yards. Tyler Boyd was his number 1 target, catching 5 passes for 96 yards. T. Higgins had been the number 1 guy for a while. I really think that player props are so tricky because you believe in what you just saw. And of course, the opposition and the coaching staff also just saw it. So they kept T. Higgins and Jamar Chase off the field, and the gamblers lost a ton of money on T. Higgins props. Mixon ran 17 times for 58 yards. He injured his ankle during the game. He's listed as questionable. The Bengals defense looked strong all game. 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Linebacker Logan Wilson out for a second straight week. And NC State product Jermaine Pratt was all over the field, 15 tackles and a half sack. Cornerback Chidobe Awuzie, COVID-19, and his backup Vernon Hargraves with a non-COVID illness out. After delivering the play of the game when he sacked Drew Lock, Khalid Kareem was concussed trying to run it back. He's in protocol. Guard Hakeem Ndeniji suffered a sprained ankle during the game. He's listed as questionable this week. And linebacker Joe Bacci tore his ACL in that collision that sent Bridgewater to the hospital with a head injury. And Joe Bacci is done for the season. So the Bengals have a ton of injuries here. And let me hear you guys and let me listen to the chat. Take it away, you guys. Ravens, Bengals. This is one of the games I'm most excited about, and I think a lot of gamblers are. Take it away, Bebsie.
I'm kind of at a loss, same as you are, Jimmy. I think this is a really tough game to call. Listen, I love the way Huntley's been playing and the way this team has been playing behind him. And I also love how there would – in a different situation with a different team and different coach, there would be a ton of controversy around the decision to go for 2. There is 0 controversy right now. The team was behind it. Nobody – I mean, obviously John Harbaugh has been doing a great job coaching in the NFL for a long time, so he has the benefit of the doubt here. That's why I want to take the Ravens in this spot. Injuries have – pounded them into mediocrity this year. But I just love the way that this team continues to rally and continues to play football. And look, the Bengals, real Jolly Roger with a great slaughterhouse joke there on our good pal Jose. It's very true. He owes steak dinners across the board. That poor fucker. But no, Joe Burrow, maybe it was all the stupid cigar poses after he won the Natty that I wasn't behind him. I didn't want him to fail. I just wasn't sure if he was good. He's been fantastic is what I'm getting at. So I don't want to fade him. But I also don't want to fade the Baltimore Ravens right now. I think this is such a difficult game to cap right now. And I even think this 44.5 is super sharp. I think, gun to my head, I'd probably take the under here. But that's contrary to what I'm seeing. Both of these teams being able to put up points despite injuries, and especially with all the injuries to the Cincy defense, then I got to lean over. So I'm at a total loss for this game. I'll be completely honest with you. I have every time I think I have a lean, I lean the other way. So maybe we should just get Jose to bet a steak dinner on something, and we'll all take the opposite.
Tasha took the Titans and Raven money line and plus 10.5 on the Steelers as a 3-game parlay. I think Birdie's absolutely right. I think you guys are all right. Let's see where the cash lies in this spot. But Birdie says 100% a Ravens spot. I'm going to be taking the Ravens money line. This is uncharted waters for the Bengals. Ravens for me here, and I don't think this one is close. Tasha saying Ravens winning this game. And Dan Kelly says he's been live betting San Diego State and UTSA since it started. I have both teams at plus points and plus money. I love it, Dan. I love it, buddy. I love it. Let's get over that Browns loss yesterday and focus on just making money here. Let's take a look at where the cash lies. I think this will tell a nice tale here. So we only have 2017 tickets in. 40% of the tickets are on the Ravens, and 66% of the cash is on the Ravens. 31% of tickets are on the under, and 57% of cash is on the under. I'm going to move on the Ravens money line. But is this under 43? Because that's my rule. Sorry, what's this total at again? Let me just move back to spreads and totals. I think it's gone up to 44.5. Gone up to 44.5. I know with the Bengals always going for 2 when the game's on the line, I should probably just take the points. I'll make that decision. Either Ravens plus 2.5 or the money line. I'm going to move on it now and move on it tonight. I think it's the look. I think that we're talking a lot about the Ravens, but this Bengals team is beat up right now. And they're feeling good about themselves. And let's see how they do, because remember, they're just 3-4 at home. Bebsie, anything you want to make official here?
Honestly, it's a lean Baltimore for me. You're taking Baltimore money line, eh?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna sit with it
because I don't hate Baltimore on the points here.
Yeah,
especially with Harbaugh's history versus the Bengals. I mean, it's really been a team that he has beat the absolute shit out of throughout his career. It's a different Bengals team, though. It's a different Bengals team.
It is, but it's a beat-up Bengals team coming off a big win on the road. And look, we see what happens when a team plays another team hard. The Saints played the Buccaneers hard, and the Buccaneers had a lot of players go down with injury. The Broncos, say what you want about their offense in that game, but they played the Bengals hard, and we saw a lot of Bengals go out with injury. We saw a lot of Broncos go down with injury. Hard road game coming back home. I'm very comfortable here. Trusty says, how many books you read? About halfway through. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant sports books. Okay. 0 so far. I've read 0 of the books behind me. Okay, Bebsie.
You know what? I think I am going to move on the Ravens here. I've talked myself into it.
I think it's the right play. Bebsie's on the Ravens. Plus 2.5. I can get it at minus 105 at Pinnacle, or would you prefer the money line?
Sorry, what?
Plus
what
2.5. Plus 2.5 at minus 105, or there's a plus 111. That's not that good. There is a plus 118 at Pinnacle.
I'm going to take money line.
Ooh. Okay, let's see if I doubt that Bet365 will mess around with this, but let's see. All right, Bebsie on the money line here. That's at plus 118. I will take a look at FanDuel and Bet365. It's not loading for some reason. Oh, there, it just loaded. Sorry, here we go. The Ravens are... Sorry. There's a mistake. There's a mistake on Bet365. They have... If you go to Bet365 right now on Saturday, December 25th, they have Montreal Alouettes at Edmonton Elks off the board.
Ooh,
Okay, here we go. We have
taking the Elks.
plus 150. Okay. All right, let's move on. Trusty says you already forgot about the books behind you. B-Ball says, Jimmy, Lowbagger's going Sunday to Santa Anita. I'm thinking about hitting it up. Check out the Craft Brew Insider tickets. Yes, and I'm going to start promoting it. It was just that it took a while for me to figure out my schedule and get everything kind of greenlit from the family. So, yes, I'm going to start promoting it tomorrow. We're all going to be at Santa Anita on the 26th, or as we call it in Kanata, Boxing Day. All right, let's move on to the next spot. It is Los Angeles Rams at Minnesota Vikings. Rams in action right now and not playing very well. It is 10-10 here. Oh, shoot, sorry. Let's move back to the let's get an update as it stands right now. It is 10-10, and the Rams have the ball at their own 20. A little touchback from Dixon. Should have been able to pin them deep, and the mistake by him punting from the 41. You got to be able to pin a team deep there. It's 10-10 right now. There's 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third quarter. Both teams hit hard by COVID, but Seahawks missing Lockett and 3 straight years with 1,000 yards, tying the great Steve Largent for the most 1,000-yard receiving years in a row. And Nuke Worker says Rams off the board. Yeah, it'll come back on the board in a bit. I just saw it. It was 3.5. It was Rams minus 3.5 about, when the punt was taking place. So that's the Rams. So let's just take a quick look at their IR right now. And we're going to expect some of these players back. Again, it's Tuesday night while this game's going on. So it's very tricky. But these are the guys that are out right now due to COVID. Defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day, safety Terrell Burgess, safety Juju Hughes, tight end Johnny Munt, Okoronkwo, Ogbonia Okoronkwo, their linebacker, Antoine Brooks Jr., linebacker, Jameel Denby, guard, Joe Noteboom, offensive tackle, Robert Rochelle, cornerback. Oh, he was activated. Oh, but he's already on IR. Sorry, he's on IR my fault. Tyler Higbee, that was the only, and Jordan Fuller. I mean, those are both, and Rob Havenstein. So those are the three guys. Offensive tackle Havenstein, Fuller, the safety, and Higbee, the tight end, are out right now. Those are the big issues for the Rams, and we'll see how they do this. Brady says, I will say this, with COVID now and all these short weeks, if you blind bet every game under, you will have a monster week. I'm almost halfway there, and we'll be adding a bunch more unders. Nuke Worker wondering if it's the Rams to win this game on right now between 4 and 10 points.
No,
so,
he's commenting on the fact that the graphic says the Rams record is 4-10.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That apologies on our behalf. 9-4, 5-2 on the road. The Vikings come in on short rest after their second straight win, 17-9 at the Bears. Kirk Cousins was 12 of 24 for 87 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Very, very, very much like that Carson Wentz performance that we saw this week, where he only threw for 57 yards. Both teams won. He was sacked 4 times. Justin Jefferson caught 4 passes for 47 yards and a touchdown. Dalvin Cook had 28 carries for 89 yards. DJ Wanham, 8 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. Are you kidding me? Vikings defense forced and recovered 3 fumbles, and they've got COVID issues. Right now, wide receiver Dan Cesena, he's not used very much as a wide receiver. He can return punts and kicks. He's not used that much there either. But Alexander Madison, who is unvaccinated, so he needs 10 days off, and then the positive test. Daniel Hunter and Dede Westbrook all on the COVID list, and Adam Thielen remains out of the lineup with an ankle injury. Here we go. It's a tricky cap, and we don't need to spend too much time on it because the Rams are in play right now. But Bebsie, your thoughts on this spot coming up in 5 short days? Rams on a short week at the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Vikings or no bet here. Again, because of the extra short week, all the COVID issues, they have to travel to Minnesota. Just a really, really difficult spot for these Rams. So, yeah, I have an inkling to take the Vikings and the points here. This Vikings team is overwhelmed in many different spots this year. Underwhelmed. Did I say overwhelmed? I meant underwhelmed. But it's also very tough to make a prediction. We don't know what can happen between now and the end of this Rams game. So, If Matt Stafford gets injured and you've already bet the Vikings, then you're laughing. So it's true gambling if you're just betting on a team when you don't know anything about who's going to be able to play next week. But in saying that, the Vikings would be my lean if I had to play here, if I had to pick something. I'm obviously not going to move on this until I know a little bit more about the Rams and their COVID and their potential injuries between now and the end of football. I mean, you don't like to say it. I'm not trying to jinx it, and I certainly hope they all finish this game healthy. But until you know that information, I think it's irresponsible to bet.
The Vikings are in a very enviable situation, being at home against a very tough opponent who's in action right now. We'll hop on the plane tomorrow, and it's way, way behind the 8 ball. This Rams team is way, way behind the 8 ball. And again, though, Madison isn't the only unvaccinated player on the Vikings. Kirk Cousins is as well. And it's always dangerous. It's always dangerous when a team has COVID issues to make a bet early on them. Tasha says Vikings won't win, but it certainly is a great, great spot for the Vikings right now, and I'm going to want to move on them. Slatsy says these Vikings really know Stafford. I think that's a good point, but I'm very interested in what the line's going to be. And when you say I'll take the Vikings with the points, my initial thought is how many are you going to get? With the way the Rams are savaged right now with injuries and having to travel here, how would the Rams be more than a 1-point favorite? I don't know. I don't think there will be points to have. I think they're just in too difficult situations. Clearly, they're the better football team, but this is a very, very tough situation.
Well, I think the Vikings have underachieved so much this year. They are better than 6 and 7. They have more talent than 6 and 7. Yeah, they've had some injuries, but they've lost a lot of close games. And, again, that speaks to the head coach. When you're losing that many close games, then Zimmer's got to go.
Zimmer's got to go.
But that's the trouble in betting against a team like the Vikings, is they have the talent to win games. And coming up against Los Angeles in this tough spot, they can do it. I'm not saying they're going to, again, because I do not trust Mike Zimmer. But they can do it. They can very easily upset the Rams.
God, imagine that. Imagine if the Rams lose here. I mean, could the 49ers get a chance to possibly play for a division title if they win out? All right. Slatsy says tough call to grab early with an unvaccinated quarterback with COVID raging. I think that's the issue. And how much will that hurt you waiting? I don't think it'll hurt you that much.
Like I said before, you have to wait regardless in this game. There's just you can't bet a team assuming nothing happens between now and the end of a game where, listen, we all know the Seattle Seahawks are a dirty football team. I expect cheap shots in this game.
And yes, Harold, the Vikings are 7-7. Rams are 9-4. I'm not sure the records on the screen. I apologize for that. Okay, let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Buffalo Bills 8-6, 4-3 on the road at New England Patriots. 9-5, 3-4 at home. We're at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we're gold. Okay, 39 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Let's start with the market move here in this spot. We have the Patriots opening up as just 1.5-point favorites. Wow. What a difference a week makes in the NFL. Now 2.5-point favorites. My goodness, that just feels like that was a mistake. Clearly a bias from what happened last week. This total opened up at 44.5. It has dropped a point to 43.5. And it's going to be cold in New England. By the way, keep an eye on the weather because it's supposed to snow in the morning. And look, we're talking about 5 days in advance. So it's going to, and then it's supposed to stop snowing around 10 or 11 a.m. and not be snowing for 1. And we know that's going to. change. We know that's going to change. So that is the market. Let's go over to the cash in this spot. We have 2,307 tickets in, 43% of the tickets on the bill, 61% of the cash. Then we have 19% of tickets on the under and 36% of cash on the under. And yet it's gone. Oh, and it's moved a point to the under. So it's making it more appealing for the public to bet the over. That screams under to me. Bills snapped their 2-game losing streak with a 31-14 win at home versus Carolina. Josh Allen, 19 of 34 for 210 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Gabriel Davis caught 5 passes for 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devin Singletary ran 22 times for 86 yards and a touchdown. He looked good for the first time, you could say. The defense swarmed Cam Newton. 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. A.J. Klein had a pick as well. The Bills were down 2 offensive line starters. So John Feliciano was placed on reserve COVID list hours before kickoff. Left tackle Deion Dawkins landed on the list Friday, was not cleared to play. Both remain on the COVID list. And who was added to it? Defensive end A.J. Epinesa was added to the COVID list, as was wide receiver Cole Beasley. And there's back and forth about whether Cole Beasley actually has it. Because Dan Kelly's saying Beasley says he's out because of the rules, not the virus. And if that's the case, that's just wild. Curtis Berry says he's on the Bills. So is Harold Williams. Dennis Trusty said, we sat here last week and said, why was Indy favorited? And they dominated the Pats. I think that this is a Bills revenge spot, and the AFC seems to beat each other. I will wait for line movement, but Bills. Tasha says, I can't see Pats losing back-to-back. Emmanuel Sanders was inactive last week. He's questionable this week. Patriots coming off a 27-17 loss to the Colts. It was their first loss to Indianapolis since 2009. Their NFL record streak of scoring in the first half, 99 consecutive games ended. They were down 20-0 entering the fourth quarter. Mac Jones, 26 of 45 for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Hunter Henry caught 6 passes for 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. Birdie says this is a New England spot. Like I said, the last time they played, New England have beaten the Bills for 2 decades, except last year with Newton and no fans. Pats for me here. I think this is a great buy low opportunity on the Patriots, but I'd like to hear Bebsie's breakdown. N'Keal Harry caught 2 passes for 52 yards. He left the game after taking a hit to the head. He's in concussion protocol. So is Nelson Aguilar. So you probably want one of those receivers in the lineup. Damian Harris is out due to a hamstring injury, and Ramondre Stevenson just when he is the guy, when he's the RB1, I shouldn't say that. Again, I guess that's a bias from last game because he's done it before when Harris went out. So that's a mistake. That's clearly a bias. He ran 10 times for 36 yards. Harris is listed as questionable again this week. The defense couldn't put pressure on Wentz, couldn't stop Jonathan Taylor, went for 170 yards. Pats had just 1 sack. Dietrich Wise had it, and that was the lone quarterback hit. Devin McCourty did have a pick. Linebacker Jawan Bentley's dealing with an ankle injury, and he's questionable for this week. And they've been hit with COVID. Wide receiver Kendrick Bourne. Linebacker Harvey Lange. Cameron McGrone, linebacker Ronnie Perkins were all added to the COVID list. That's 3 linebackers. Cameron McGrone's a linebacker, right? I believe that's 3 linebackers and Kendrick Bourne that just been added to the COVID list. Wow. This is Dan Kelly said 100 times more dangerous to play in the NFL than to get COVID. Oh, 1,000. Says this not letting players play is ridiculous. The NFLPA should be suing. I agree. I agree with this. If it's this strain, I believe though that last strain is still hanging around a few places, but this strain clearly seems not to bother people. But that's another story. Bebsy, take it away here. A huge game in the AFC East. Bills Patriots, take it away.
Listen, I agree. I think this is a buy low spot for the New England Patriots. I think it feels like COVID's going to run through both of these teams. Which coach is going to be more prepared to play without some players at his disposal? It's Bill Belichick. Which coach has dominated the other team for 20 some odd years now? That's New England. Which team is at home? It's New England. Listen, Buffalo is, I think, a better team top to bottom. And I think they're very well coached. McDermott, after the last game, throwing that, I talked about this on the show, that unnecessary dig at Bill Belichick, talking about how Belichick doesn't deserve that much praise for just say nothing. Don't. Why would you give Bill Belichick any reason to mark your name on his whiteboard and make sure you die the next time he sees you? I'm going with the Dark Lord here. I'm backing New England. Buffalo, just as good as they are, and I'm opposite Dennis Garcia on this. I do think Buffalo is a very good football team, but I think they fall to the New England Patriots. New England at home is just going to get it done this week, and just what are you doing, McDermott? Why would you talk shit about Belichick? Just say nothing. All you had to do was nothing, and you fucked it up. I think that paints a target on the Bills, and I think he gets outcoached by Belichick hard. I think Belichick brings everything this week just to prove a point.
Look, I agree with the buy low spot on the Patriots and all that, and that was my whole thought until I broke down all the injuries and all the issues that the Patriots have right now. I mean, that's a ton. I mean,
hey, who knows if Beasley just tested positive, that could rip through the Bills locker room too. So,
okay. Well, this is after reading all the. I need one of those receivers back. I need Aguilar and N'Keal Harry back. I need to know that Jawan Bentley is in, and are the Pats going to be down 3 linebackers? So I hear what you're saying, and I can give you the Patriots minus 2.5 at minus 104, a very low vig, but I'm not going to be moving on this spot at this point. Do you want the Patriots minus 2.5 at minus 104?
Yes, I am going to move on the Pats now.
All right, we have Bebsie on the Pats minus 2.5. Minus 104.
Just commenting on what Birdie said here, could that have been more of a burn on himself? I think McDermott meant don't give BB credit because himself. Whether that's the case or not, the perception of the way New England takes it is what matters. And I guarantee that is something that's whiteboard material. That's something you put on the whiteboard and you say, this asshole said this about Bill Belichick. So it doesn't matter what he meant. It's how it's perceived.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Birdie says the Bills cannot stop the run. They've lost every game to power running football teams. Bills cannot stop the run.
And they can't answer with a run game. That's why when they had that horrendous weather in Buffalo a couple weeks ago, I texted Pavi right before the game. I said, brutal weather, Bills can't run the ball, advantage Pats. And that's exactly how it played out. If it's cold and bad weather in New England, it's going to be more of the same shit. And again, New England losing last week, Buffalo winning. We're literally seeing a recency bias on both sides. It's a buy low spot for the Pats. It's a sell high spot for Buffalo here.
Rams just got a touchdown, by the way, now have a 17-10 lead. All right, let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. And Bebsie's in. Bebsie's in on the Pats. Jacksonville Jaguars 2-12, 0-6 on the road. And New York Jets 3-11, 2-5 at home. And Birdie saying linebackers don't run block. MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Really nice week of weather, and that can change in some spots, but it won't change on the East Coast. 46 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. Let's take a look at what the market is offering here in Jaguars Jets bum fight. Jets opening up at -2 at -105 at bet 365. Moved half point to -2.5, -110. This total opened up under 41.5 at -115. It's now at -110. So a 5-cent move back to the over in this spot. Jags had an ugly first game after the firing of Urban Meyer, losing their 6th straight game, 30-16 at home to the lowly Texans. They have now lost 8 straight to the Texans. And shout out to Dennis Garcia. While everybody on Sunday was all over the Jags, he said, Titans and lock it in. This is a perfect spot. And the points are way too many points, and they went outright. Trevor Lawrence was 22 of 38 for 210 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. James O'Shaughnessy caught 4 passes for 60 yards. Laquan Treadwell caught 6 passes for 57 yards. James Robinson had 18 carries for 75 yards and a touchdown. The issue was the defense could get no pressure on Davis Mills. 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Tyson Campbell did have an interception for 3 yards. Safety Rayshon Jenkins is in the air cast now. He's carted off the field in the first quarter. His season is over, so they lose him. Left tackle Cam Robinson left in the second half. He was replaced by Walker Little. He's listed as questionable this week. And Carlos Hyde, his season is over. He's placed on IR with a concussion. Jets come in off a 31-24 loss at Miami. They're dealing with a COVID outbreak. They were up 17-10 at the half. That's their first halftime lead of the year. All year, that's their first halftime lead. Zach Wilson was 13-23 for 170 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Jamison Crowder caught 5 passes for 70 yards. Tevin Coleman had 8 carries for 50 yards. CJ Mosley's been so good this year when he's been healthy. All over the field, 14 tackles. Quincy Williams had 11 tackles himself. Ashton Davis had 8 tackles and a pick. Brandon Echols had the other interception returned at 20 yards for a touchdown. But the Jets managed just 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits, and Jets safety Elijah Riley was taken off the field on a backboard after injuring his neck. It looked bad. He was stabilized before he was removed from the field on a cart, but it turns out everything's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. Defensive lineman Quinn Williams has a shoulder injury, and he left in the third quarter. So let's just take a quick look at what's going on with the Jets. They're still hoping to get Becton to start practicing, Mekhi Becton, but is there a reason to have him come back now? I don't think so. I think it's probably a safer play just to have him rest up for next season. Safety Sherrod Niesman is on the reserve COVID list as of Monday. Vincent Smith, wide receiver, was placed on the reserve COVID list as well on Monday. Elijah Riley, as we said, is in concussion protocols after that neck injury. John Franklin Myers is on the reserve COVID list, defensive end John Franklin Myers. So Ryan Griffin, doubtful with a knee injury. Quinn Williams, defensive tackle, is expected to be good to go coming up this week. But they have a ton of COVID issues as well. So they have Hamza Nasruddin, linebacker. He's still on the COVID list. Folorunshu Fadukasi is also on the COVID list. And we'll see if more of that comes on because Elijah Moore was moved from the injured reserve to the COVID list. And, Justin Hardy still on the COVID list. A lot of problems over in New York. Bum fight, Bebsie. Is there an angle here anywhere?
I mean, listen, I don't want to bet this, but I think Jacksonville takes care of business this weekend. They're slightly healthier. Now a week removed from Urban Meyer. It was a short Urban Meyer-less week for them. I think it's Jacksonville or no play here. The New York Jets are injuries upon COVID. And this is not a good spot. I mean, you're playing the Jags at home. That should be a good spot. That should always be a good spot. But I don't know. It's hard for me to break down such a dog shit match. This is going to be billed as the number 1 overall pick versus the number 2 overall pick. But the number 1 overall pick, at least he's got some weapons kicking around. Once Elijah Moore went down, Zach had pretty much nothing. And I don't think that changes here. I think the Jags can put up points. I don't think the Jets can.
Yeah, I think that probably makes sense. I think I'm just going to stay far away from it. But
well, yeah, we don't need to bet the game. That's why we can move on. But it's just a shit match that will determine draft order for 2 players whose careers will, in all likelihood, be wasted. Rest in peace, picks 1 to 4. Yeah, there's my 2 cents. I don't think I have much else free on this one.
We'll let Tasha lay it down. She says, don't waste money on games that don't matter. Viper says Jimmy won't be able to sleep if he doesn't bet this game. Yeah. We got a nice little winning streak going on here, and I want to try to get my 9th straight winning week, and I don't want this to get in the way of it. So let's just move on from that point. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. New York Giants 14-10, 1-6 on the road at Philadelphia Eagles 6-7, 1-4 homer at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 50 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 12 miles per hour. These New York Giants open up as 11-point dogs. That moves to 10 or 10.5. And these Eagles are in action as we speak. But let's start with these New York Giants coming off their third straight loss, 21-6 at home versus the Cowboys. Mike Glennon was terrible. 13-24 for 99 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Then Jake Fromm comes in. He goes 6 or 12 for 82 yards. By the way, Dan Kelly says, I like San Diego State second half. He says all those backups came out fired up for UTSA with a home crowd, but started to fade in the second quarter. That fade should continue in the second half. UTSA has a lot of key starters not playing tonight. That's from Dan Kelly. Kenny Golladay caught 3 passes for 53 yards, no touchdowns. Devontae Booker ran 8 times for 74 yards. Saquon Barkley ran 15 times for 50 yards. He also lost a fumble. The defense was strong and kept them in the game. Tate Crowder had 12 tackles. Logan Ryan, Julian Love, each 10. Lorenzo Carter had 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits. The team combined for 3 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. Sterling Shepard tore his Achilles tendon late in the game, so he's gone. His backup running back Gary Brightwell left early with a neck injury. Cornerbacks Adoree Jackson, Aaron Robinson, wide receiver John Ross and Kadarius Toney, linebackers Cam Brown and O'Shane Ximenez were put on the reserve list this past week and did not play. So we just have a ton of COVID issues for these Giants. Daniel Jones said that, Joe Judge said about Daniel Jones that he won't require surgery to address the neck strain. And he's being placed on injured reserve on Monday. So it's goodbye, Daniel Jones. We won't be seeing him. As I said, Sterling Shepard on IR. This team is a mess. And, all those players still on with COVID. It's hard to want to have anything to do with those New York Giants. And the Eagles are in action as we speak. So this is going to be an Eagles team on short rest. And hard to trust them here. Let's see if Bebsie does. By the way, as we speak right now, those Eagles are up 20-10, but Washington's on first and goal. Bebsie, take it away here. I guess Eagles don't make it a bum fight, but close to a bum fight. Giants, Eagles.
I think the only thing that's at play here is possibly the under, even though it is already a very low number. But again, super short week for the Eagles, actually a good defense for the Giants, horrendous offense for the Giants, and an offense in Philly that everything is predicated on the run for them. They've shifted more to a team that just focuses on their running game, and rightfully so. So I think that as low as this total is, very much like this under in this divisional matchup, short week for the Eagles. We know the Giants aren't going to move the ball. I'm assuming Fromm gets the start, because how do you put Glennon out there again? We know what Mike Glennon is. Your season's over. Let's see what they have in Fromm. But I don't think Fromm is going to light it up either. So I just think the over is a nice little look here, especially with the Eagles. It's going to be a tough week for them.
The under, you were saying, a nice look.
Yeah, the under, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Pinnacle doesn't have it on the board, and Circa's hanging at 42.5, but it costs 8 cents to get that 42.5. That's a pretty nice place to be in. Let's see what Bet365 is offering if this game is off the board. So off the board at those 2 spots. Let's get one last look at FanDuel here. And FanDuel has it on the board. They've got this. Oh. No, they don't have it on the board. My apologies. I thought they had it on the board. Okay, so Circa, the only book with balls of the ones that we've got out here to put it on the board. Would you like the under 42.5 at -118?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would, Jimmy.
I think this is a good look. Under 42.5 at -118. I also think, I keep cashing on the Giants team total under. I shouldn't say keep. I've 2 of my last 3 weeks I've cashed on it. That one week I didn't cash was against the Chargers when they put up 14 points in the fourth quarter after the Chargers got up 30-7. It still was the right side. It was just the team let their foot off the gas, which could happen again here. But Bebsie here is on the under 42.5 at Circa. I think this makes sense. I would like to be on both the under and the Giants team total under. I like it. I like this. And if the Eagles win here, then it's a must win for the Eagles. They're still in the race. Barely, but still in the race. There's DJ Big Boss in the house. Great to see you, boss. Hope to see you on the 26th at Santa Anita. And I'll be in touch with you all about that. All right, let's roll on and we move on. Let me just set this up with my entries here because I did want to get an update. All right, we move on. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 10-4, 4-3 on the road at Carolina Panthers 5-9, 2-5 at home at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's beautiful in Charlotte, 68 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 8 miles per hour on Sunday. We have this Tampa squad opening up as 13-point favorites after the debacle at home against the Saints. They're now 10.5-point favorites. This total opened up at 48 after the debacle and all the injuries to the Buccaneers. They're now at 44. Is that 44 or 44.5? Let me 44. Wow. So we have a 4-point drop in the total there. Buccaneers coming off that shocking 9-0 shutout loss at home to the Saints. They lost to the Saints for the 7th straight time in the regular season. Now, there is a playoff win in there, but 4 straight with Brady under center. Number 1 passing and scoring offense shut out. Brady's streak of 255 consecutive starts, including playoff games, without being shut out is over. Tom Brady was 26 of 48 for 214 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also lost a fumble. He also looked angry and dejected, and he just looked like he let go and he was just going to lose. I mean, he looked angry. He didn't look passive, but he didn't have fight in him. Chris Godwin caught 6 passes for 49 yards, but left with a torn ACL in the second quarter. His season is over. Leonard Fournette ran 9 times for 34 yards, caught 7 passes for 33 yards before leaving with a hamstring injury in the third quarter, and he could go on the IR. Mike Evans left in the second quarter with a hamstring injury. Ronald Jones replaced Fournette and ran 8 times for 63 yards. Levante David, 11 tackles, 3 for loss and a sack, and he injured his foot. The defense finished with 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Safety Jordan Whitehead returned to the lineup after missing 2 games, but safety Antoine Winfield with a foot injury, cornerback Jamal Dean with the illness, and quarterback Richard Sherman were all inactive. So Godwin is done. Antonio Brown had a suspension lifted Monday, so he should be in the lineup. Brashard Perryman could return from the reserve COVID list prior to the game Sunday. We'll have to wait and see. Mike Evans had the hamstring strain, but they say he has a chance to play in Week 16. Winfield, Sherman, and Dean are still just listed as questionable. Fournette is going to miss time. So Fournette is very unlikely to play. And then Levante David, we still don't have an update. And Patrick O'Connor is dealing with a knee injury. Defensive end Patrick O'Connor. Wow. Now the Panthers. Let's let Birdie lead us into the Panthers breakdown. Says, how is Matt Rule still coaching in the NFL? He has absolutely no clue. DJ Big Boss says, I'm not putting another nickel on Cam. And Tasha says, who says if Sam plays? Terry Walker says if Sam plays Carolina, yes, Sam Darnold is capable or possible to be in the lineup here. Panthers coming off their 4th straight loss, 31-14 at the Bills on Sunday. Cam Newton lost his 12th straight start as a Panther. Hasn't led Carolina to a victory since November 4th, 2018. 18 of 38 for 156 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Also ran 15 times for 71 yards and a touchdown. So he did extend his NFL record by scoring a TD rushing and TD passing for the 44th time in his career. Also extended his streak of scoring a TD rushing to 5 consecutive games. That matches the NFL record for a quarterback set by Kyler Murray last year. Darnold has cleared. He's allowed to take contact reps. Amber Abdullah caught 4 passes for 48 yards and a touchdown. DJ Moore caught 6 passes for 48 yards. Yatur Gross-Matos had 2.5 sacks, 2.5 of the team's 4 sacks. Jeremy Chin had 7 tackles and a pick. But Zane Gonzalez got hurt before the game on the field kicking. He had a quad injury. We don't know the extent of it. Right guard John Miller returned after missing 2 games with an ankle injury. That helps. But defensive tackle Derek Brown has been placed on the COVID list. And Matt Rule said that A.J. Bouye will try and play. He's going to try and play. Brady says the Bucs signed Le'Veon Bell today. Yeah, I did see that. And there's Mr. Gokster in the house. All right, here we go. Bebsie. Will the Buccaneers bounce back? Is 10 a nice low number for them to bounce back? Or did they really get hurt against the Saints? And are they just going to be able to sneak a win here in Carolina? Take it away.
Look, those are some mega injuries. Losing Evans, Godwin, and Fournette all in one game that's a lot to overcome, especially when your team has been bad on the road this year. So I still think it's too many points given the injuries. Now, they still have Gronkowski. They're getting Antonio Brown back. Tom coming off a terrible game is usually not – it's not smart to bet against Tom Brady after a horrible game. So for that reason, I'm going to pass. If you could have got you said it opened at 13.5?
Yeah. That was before the game.
Yeah, that could have been a lot nicer. But, yeah, I just listen, you can't bet the Bucs on the road. It's been terrible for you this year if you're doing that. But like I said, Tom coming off an embarrassing loss where he poopied his pantsies and yelled at the coach and threw his tablet and acted like the sucky baby, poor loser that he always is. But no, he's going to bounce back and he's going to have a good game, even though this Carolina Panthers team is they still have a very good defense. Their offense is horrendous. Cam Newton needs to never play football again. That out route throw that he threw was terrible. It didn't even look like a professional athlete, let alone a professional quarterback. A former league MVP threw that. He's got to retire so that we can kind of remember good Cam and not just this embarrassing Cam. I think Curtis Berry said, is he an auto fade at this point? Kinda. So it's a pass for me. I can't bet Tampa on the road. I can't bet the Panthers. So
what do you think about if Darnold is under center?
Certainly would give me some more hope in the Panthers. I think I would definitely lean Panthers that way if he's back. But also if he's just getting cleared for contact now, do we find out what the Panthers really think of him? Because if they throw him out there in this meaningless game and he's not 100%, they're basically saying that they're done with him as well. Which I would understand if they are, but it would give me a little more confidence in the Panthers, but probably not enough to bet them.
And 19% of the tickets on the Panthers, 28% of the cash. So some bigger bets coming in on the Panthers. Then you have 40% of tickets and 86% of cash on the under. B-Ball says this total should be 39.5. It looks fishy at 44. Well, what do you think of the under in this game?
Yeah, I can see the under given the sheer number of injuries to Tampa and the fact that they've been bad on the road, and the fact that Carolina can't move the ball at all. So I agree that it's fishy, but the under would make the most sense.
I think the under might be a really good look here. Clearly the sharps are on it. B-Ball staring at it, and it's sitting right now at 44. So that 48 was from before the game. So, oh no, jeez, no, that's gone down. No, I can't bet it now. Whoa, I thought this was before the game. It wasn't. This opened up at 4:26 a.m. on Monday. Oh, of course. Sorry, because the Saints game was Monday night, not Sunday. What am I talking about? So then, of course. But it was going down all day.
It's very hard to keep track of when games were played this week because of all the COVID rescheduling.
Yeah, but yeah, wow. So, and look, Birdie betted at 47.5 on Monday. Okay, I can't take it at 44. Great bet, Birdie. Yeah, I cannot do that. Great stuff, Birdie. Okay, let's move on. I've just taken that off my card. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Chargers, Texans. 1 p.m. Eastern. LA Chargers 8-6, 4-2 on the road at Houston Texans. 3-11, 1-6 at home at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. Let's take a look at the market move here in this spot. We have these Superchargers. Where are they here? Here we go. Chargers opening up as 10.5-point favorites. That's moved to 9.5 or 9. This total opened up at 47.5 and is now at 45. When we go to the cash flow in this spot, we have 2,118 tickets in, 77% of the tickets on the Chargers, 82% of the cash. And then we have 41% of tickets on the under, but 59% of the cash on the under. Chargers coming off extra rest and prep after losing 34-28 in overtime at home to the Chiefs last Thursday. Herbert was 22 of 38 for 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Keenan Allen returned from the COVID list and caught 6 passes for 78 yards, 1 touchdown. And Birdie bet the under 47 in this one too on Monday. Nice job. Justin Jackson was RB1 for a lot of the game, 13 carries for 86 yards. Austin Eckler, 12 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. Also caught 4 passes for 23 yards. The defense couldn't get enough stops when it counted. They finished with 1 sack and 5 quarterback hits. Uchenna Nwosu had a pick. Safety Derwin James aggravated a hamstring injury in the third quarter, and everything changed. The whole game changed then. The secondary could do nothing to slow down Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. Kelce went for a career-high 191 yards. Mahomes went for 31 of 47 for a season-high 410 yards and 3 touchdowns and interception. Threw for 200 yards after that pick, and Derwin James wasn't on the field anymore, and that is what happened to these Superchargers. Let's take a look at what's going on with this injury, with just the COVID addition. So yesterday, these are the players that they added to the COVID list. Chris Rumpf, linebackers, Trey Marshall, safety, Tavon Campbell, cornerback. Andre Roberts, wide receiver. Joey Bosa is on the reserve COVID list, and he will not be available to play. So they lose Bosa too. Corey Linsley, these are the big names that are out. Corey Linsley on the reserve COVID list, and then Eckler on the reserve COVID list. Now he has a chance to get back to play, but all these other guys are out. So Asante Samuel and Gilman, cornerback and safety, were inactive last week and are questionable this week. And Staley's optimistic that Derwin James would come back. And then Donald Parham's concussion, he's out of hospital and he's okay, but he's not going to be getting on the field anytime soon. That's a lot. That is a lot of issues right now. The Texans coming off their 8th straight victory over the Jaguars. I paused because I saw 8 straight victories. But yes, 8th straight victory over the Jaguars, 30-16 in Jacksonville. They did it despite being ravaged with COVID. Davis Mills won for the first time in 8 starts, going 19 of 30 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. Brandon Cooks caught 7 passes for 102 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tremont Smith returned a kickoff, 98 yards. That's the first Texans kickoff return for a score since October 4th, 2009. Tavier Thomas and Garrett Wallow each had 11 tackles. Wallow also added a sack. And then let's do a quick update on the Texans COVID issues. God, what mess COVID's turned all this into. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Going in the wrong direction. Here's the Houston Texans COVID issues. We have, God, look at this list of players out. So these guys were out for the game that was just played when they looked pretty good, and they're not huge pieces. Defensive end DeMarcus Walker, cornerback Terrence Mitchell, safety Terrence Brooks, guard Justin McCray, guard Lane Taylor, defensive end Jonathan Greenard. So there's a big piece. I mean, he had such a great start to the season. So they're all on the reserve COVID list. Jimmy Moreland, Justin Reed were inactive last week and are questionable this week. And then new COVID list additions: Jacob Martin, defensive end; Malik Collins, defensive tackle; Derek Rivers, defensive end; Jeff Driscoll has a fractured collarbone, so he's out for week 16. What a mess. Take it away, Bebsie. Can you find any clarity in this?
The only thing I kind of like in this, and I'm a little bit weary of it because of the Linsley, the absence of Corey Linsley, who has really helped this line be good this year. I mean, part of the reason that they weren't better last year was because their O-line was full of holes and Herbert was getting his head bashed in all the time. Him being out can't be overlooked, except for the fact that they're playing the Houston Texans And I don't think there's any pass rusher strong enough to exploit that. This Texans defense is okay considering their complete and total lack of talent. But Dennis Trusty brought this up, and I kind of like this look more than anything else in this game, and that's the Chargers team total over. Because with the COVID injury or the COVID absences on their defense, I struggle to see them covering. But that's the only real look. Like, there's so many variables in this game right now, mostly due to COVID. But, Derwin James probably shouldn't play because I think they win without him. And they need, if they're going to be competitive at all, he needs to be there. Bosa being out is huge. He's obviously their best defensive lineman. So the only thing I can trust is what the Los Angeles Chargers defense can do against this Houston Texans, or offense, sorry, can do against this Houston Texans team. There's not much else I can trust.
Birdie says there's still value on this under, in my opinion, at 44. The team total, by the way, is at 28.5 over at Bet365. That is juiced to the under. Let's see what Pinnacle is doing. Oh, Pinnacle won't have this on the board, of course, because they're a smart book. And then let's see if... Here we go. No. Okay. All right. So Rams just kicked a field goal, so they are now up 20-10 with very little time on the clock. Those of you back in the Rams, -7, like my dad, are in good shape, really good shape. We'll see how the last 46 at DraftKings. There you go, Vibe. Did you want me to line shop for a Chargers team total, or do you want to wait and study?
No, I think I'm good with it, to be honest with you.
Good, meaning you want to move?
Yeah, I'm not gonna bet it. I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was a good point from Trusty, and I don't hate that look, but I don't love it enough to bet it either.
All right, let's move on to 4 p.m. action, afternoon action, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Chicago Bears 4-10, 2-5 on the road at the Seattle Seahawks, 5-8, 2-4 at home at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. 32 Fahrenheit, snow showers, 9 miles per hour. I should have moved on this under 43 when I had the chance. Could have moved on it today. I should have moved on it today. I don't expect it'll open at 43, and if it doesn't open there, I don't know if I move on it. Birdie does have a question about that last game we were talking about. Did you lean to the over in Chargers Texans?
I think I would, just based on the fact that the missing pieces are all, not all, but primarily defensive players. So yeah, I can see the Chargers putting up a ton of points. I can see the lowly Houston Texans putting up enough points to reach that total. So yeah, I would lean the over in that game.
I think that makes sense. I'm going to look into that further and put a little over question mark here. All right, and Viper's already on the under 44 -110 at DraftKings. Nice job, Vipe. I should have moved on it today. I was just trying to make sure that I was prepared for the show, and I just lost track of time, and then the game started. Bears 4-10, 2-5 on the road. Seahawks 5-8, 2-4 at home. And I just mentioned the snow showers. Let's take a look at the market in this spot. This total is at 43 or 43.5, depending on where you shop. It opened with Seattle -7.5, but at +110, so really a 7 or 6.5. It's now at 6.5 at most books. Actually, some books still hang in the 7. And Birdie says if you like the Chargers team total over and you don't think they cover, then 29-20 would be the final score. Let's take a look at where the cash lies in this. Oh, I guess it doesn't make sense to look where the cash lies before the game's in. But yeah, it's just 567 tickets in. Of those, 91% of the spread tickets are on Seattle, and 86% of the tickets are on the under. So it probably will keep dropping. The Bears come in ravaged by injury and COVID. They've lost 8 of 9. They're on a short week after their 17-9 loss at home to the Vikings on Monday night. Bears are missing 14 players with COVID. Allen Robinson and the starting secondary were the main components that they were missing. And the health of the staff is a mess. Sean Desai, their defensive coordinator, was cleared to return hours before kickoff. Bill Lazor was not cleared, so Nagy called the plays, and he was terrible. Special teams coordinator Chris Tabor is out as well. Justin Fields was 26 for 39 for 285 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, and he looked terrible. He ran 7 times for 35 yards, fumbled twice, but he was missing open receivers, and he was having receivers drop balls, so it was just a combination of bad play. And he was missing both his starting tackles, Larry Borum on the COVID list, left tackle Jason Peters out with an ankle injury. Cole Kmet caught 6 passes for 71 yards. Darnell Mooney caught 5 for 63. Damier Byrd caught 5 for 62. He also lost a fumble and missed some blatant, perfect, just ball on the hands, should have caught situations. Montgomery ran 18 times for 60 yards, lost a fumble. Roquan Smith had 10 tackles. Akeem Hicks and Robert Quinn each had 2 sacks. Quinn has 16 sacks this year. It's quietly having a monster season. He's just behind Hall of Famer Richard Dent's franchise record of 17.5 and 84. Deion Bush had an interception. With all their COVID issues, the defense looked good. Wide receiver, punt returner Jakeem Grant Sr. Left in the first half. He's in concussion protocol. These Seahawks are in action right now as we speak. They're not looking good. They're down 20-10 right now, and they have 54 seconds left, and they have the ball on the Rams 48 with 54 seconds left, and they're out of timeouts. So we'll have to see who is healthy after this spot and study it a little more. Any early feelings on this spot here? Bears, Seahawks, take it away.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this Seattle Seahawks team responds. This now with this loss that will, in all likelihood, take place if they're down 10 with 50 seconds left. This will be the first official losing season of the Pete Carroll era in Seattle. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to it. I think the under here in this game is a great look. I don't think I would back Seattle at -7 because I don't know how they're going to react. They do have a lot of injuries, but they also, we said this from the start of the year, they just don't have enough talent. They're top loaded with a handful of contracts that gulp up way too much of their cap. And frankly, Russell ran out of magic this year. I mean, he, for years, kept this team competitive even when they had loads of holes. But it's just not there anymore. So I can't bet them to cover 7 points. I can't put any faith in Chicago, but I do like the under here a lot because Chicago's defense has played well, even with injuries, even with having Khalil Mack out. They're still playing solid defense, and Seattle's defense continues to overachieve, and they don't really have to do much to overachieve against this Bears offense because, quite frankly, I'm amazed that Matt Nagy is not fired at this stage. I mean, I guess there's little point to doing it now other than to make a point, but he needs to go for this team to blossom. But the Bears, even when they are playing good, they shoot themselves in the foot. So I don't see a lot of scoring in this game, and for that reason, I am on the under here.
Well, let's see if I can find it anywhere. Is it still up at DraftKings? I can't open up DraftKings. Oh, I probably could now that I'm in the States. I never thought of that. But let's see if it's available here at FanDuel. It is not.
Also, Lockett is out, but is it an injury or is it COVID?
It's COVID.
COVID.
So he's capable of being back here. All right. So the Rams have covered here. Big win for my dad. And nice work for everybody. So I don't have this available in any books. Can anybody see it available right now? The Seahawks under. So I'll just say that Bebsie is on the under, and we'll have to see when that becomes available at some point this evening. And I want it to. So I want it. I should have bet it already. If it's below 42, which I doubt, I'm just going to be angry and let it go. All right, let's move on. Next afternoon game, Pittsburgh Steelers 7-6-1, 2-4 on the road at Kansas City Chiefs 10-4, 6-2 at home. We're at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. 60 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 13 miles per hour. And we have this total opening up at 46.5. It's already dropped to 44.5 at Bet365. The Chiefs open up as 10.5-point favorites. They have moved to 8.5-point favorites here. Take a look at the cash flow in this spot. We have 2,332 tickets in, 55% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on the Chiefs, yet the market's sort of moving towards the Steelers. Then we have 39% of tickets on the under and 58% of cash on the under. So the under being bet quickly here. Steelers come in off a big 19-13 win at home over the Titans. Saw them shut out Tennessee in the second half. Their defense was excellent while the offense sputtered. Offense managed just 168 yards of offense. Big Ben 16-25 for 148 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. Deontay Johnson led the way with 5 catches for 38 yards. They ran for just 17 carries on 35 yards. Najee Harris did not look good, running 12 times for 18 yards. TJ Watt had a sack and a half. He now has 17 and a half sacks on the season. That's a franchise record. And Tomlin confirmed that Freiermuth is in the concussion protocol. Defensive tackle Chris Wormley suffered a groin injury Sunday. Tight end Kevin Rader, linebacker Buddy Johnson, defensive end Isaiah Buggs were all inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. Chiefs coming off their 7th straight victory, 34-28 in overtime at the Chiefs. 3-4 at the end of October, now 10-4 and up 2 games in the AFC West. Mahomes was 31-47 for 410 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He also had 3 carries for 32 yards and lost a fumble. Travis Kelce caught 10 passes for a career high 191 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill caught 12 passes for 148 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Hitchens had 8 tackles and a pick. But this defense was clearly missing Chris Jones. What happened when they picked up Ingram was that Chris Jones was able to move to the outside, and then he started really rolling with Frank Clark and Ingram and Chris Jones all on that front line. They started doing a lot of damage. 0 sacks and just 3 quarterback hits without Chris Jones in the lineup. Let's just go over their injury situation here quickly because I wanted to update the latest update on Chris Jones, and I didn't write it down. So let's see what we're dealing with. Here we go. Chris Jones wasn't active, so just still on the COVID list. These are the players that are on the COVID list at this point. Willie Gay, linebacker. Josh Gordon, wide receiver. Chris Jones, defensive tackle. Charvarius Ward, cornerback. Then we have Kelce. Kelce was placed on the COVID list yesterday. Wow. I didn't know he was placed. So was Tyreek Hill. I knew he was. Wow. Kelce and Tyreek Hill now on the COVID list. Holy shit. All right, take it away here, Bebsie. Another messy game with COVID's fingerprints all over it. Steelers Chiefs.
I know everybody lost their shit about Kelce's performance last week. He didn't really do anything until Derwin James went down. And then he just took complete and total advantage. Also, it's another situation in which they probably shouldn't have been in a position to win that game. Any other time where a corner makes contact with a receiver, the receiver falls and can't catch the ball, there's an automatic flag. There wasn't for some reason at the end of that game. I think I know why, but yeah, ugly way to lose that game, anyways. But yeah, this is a tough spot. If Kelce and Tyreek Hill are out, what do they do? I know there's other players on the team. I know McCole Hardman can play football, but he's not Tyreek Hill. And just trying to replace those two production-wise is extremely difficult. And I don't know how you can bet the Chiefs to win this game, let alone by 9.5 points, without those two. So I think it's got to be Steelers or no bet here. So did this move much?
It's not much, I believe. By the way, thank you, Jared. The Bears Seahawks under 44 is available right now at -110. So let me lock you in for that because I don't think you're going to beat that here. Yeah, it moved from 10.5 to 8.5.
Yeah. Sorry, was that 10.5? Now it's at 8.5?
Yeah, and Tasha got it at 10.5 for the Steelers. Nice job.
Yeah, good job, Tasha. I 10.5, I'd jump on that right away, and I think Tasha's got a great bet there. I don't know. Is there a chance these guys are back, or are they just out?
There's a chance that they're back. I mean, they just
it
have to
doesn't
have
feel like we keep talking about there's a chance these guys come back, and then the game gets flexed, and then they're still not back. So I'm not gonna bet it because I think the Steelers also were very lucky to come out with a W. But yeah, I think it's got to be Steelers or no bet here. I don't know how you back the Chiefs in this situation to cover that many points with Hill and Kelsey out.
I don't know how you do either. And it's not available at a lot of the books. Let's see if FanDuel's hanging it here. They are. They're hanging it at 7. Wow, but Bet365's hanging at 8.5.
Oh, I got to agree with Birdie here too. This under is very much in play. With those two out and the ineptitude of the Steelers offense.
Oh yeah.
Is that available anywhere? Because if it is, I'm going to jump on that.
Yes, it's available right now at 44.5 at Bet365.
I'm going to jump on that. I don't. How do either of these teams put up points? Pittsburgh just straight up doesn't put up points. That's not their thing. I know I'm the president of the Pat Fryermuth fan club, but he's I think he's become a very important piece to this team. So him being out can't be overlooked either.
I think the Steelers and the under are the look right now. Obviously, Tyreek Hill and Kelsey could come back, but what are the chances that they're both going to come back? I'd say that they're slim, that they're both going to be in the lineup. Dan Kelly says another game you better wait for the late COVID report, or take, we're gamblers, or gamble that they won't both be in the lineup.
Yeah, I think if you are going to make a play here, it has to be Steelers. But even if they come back, which I don't think they will, I don't think the under is unappealing there.
Let's move on to the next spot. I like both. I like what you're on there, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. I also like the Steelers.
Sorry, Jimmy, did you lock me in on that under?
I did. Under 44.5 minus 110 available at Bet365. I'd like to tail that, and I'd also like the Steelers. All right, let's move on to the next spot on the board. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Just 3 games left on this card. We've done nice work here and haven't taken too long doing it. Denver Broncos 7-7, 3-3 on the road at Las Vegas Raiders. 7-7, 3-4 at home. Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. I want the Broncos, but I stopped myself from betting it and thought, why don't I bring it up here? And Turnsey says we have razor sharp picks and Turnsey in the Pub Sports DFS final. I love that. I love that you guys are going heads up for the final. And I love it. I love it. We got to talk a lot about it over the next week, Turnsey. All right, let's talk Broncos, Raiders, and Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. I, again, repeating myself here, want the Broncos. But do I have the confidence to back Drew Lock? This total opened up at 42.5. It's now at 42. The Raiders opened up -1 at -105, Bet365. They're just -1 at -110. Another thing, though, if I had to bet the Broncos at +100, I'd be taking the worst line. There was much better lines at other books, and that kind of gave me pause. Broncos coming off a tough 15-10 home loss to the Bengals that saw starting quarterback Teddy Bridgewater sent to the hospital with a head injury. He's in concussion protocol. Nobody expects him under center this week. He was 12 of 22 before leaving, while his replacement Drew Lock was 6 of 12 for 88 yards and a touchdown and 1 costly red zone fumble. Albert Okwuegbunam had 3 catches for 58 yards. Noah Fant, 5 catches for 57 yards. Tim Patrick had 3 catches for 42 yards in the TD. Javonte Williams, another strong game, 15 carries for 72 yards. Should have had the ball in his hands when Drew Lock fumbled it. Melvin Gordon had 15 carries for 53 yards. And Slatsy says Teddy Bridgewater was terrible last week. What's worse than terrible? Drew Lock. And he says Broncos 0-5 against the spread last 5 versus the Raiders. Harold Williams is on the Raiders. Mr. Gogster knows this Broncos team inside and out. Says over. Justin Simmons had 2 sacks. The Broncos were without starters inside linebacker Kenny Young due to a concussion and defensive end Draymond Jones due to a foot injury. They're listed as questionable this week. And Caden Stearns, safety, who doesn't playing most packages, was inactive and is listed as questionable this week. Raiders are on a short week after defeating a COVID-ravaged Browns team on Monday 16-14 thanks to a 48-yard field goal by Daniel Carlson as time expired. Derek Carr was 25 of 38 for 236 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Zay Jones caught 6 passes for 67 yards and 2 big catches late. Foster Moreau caught 7 passes for 65 yards. Despite the makeshift Browns offensive line, the Raiders had no sacks and 4 quarterback hits. Linebacker Will Compton was a late scratch. He left the team with his family after his mother's unexpected death. He's listed as questionable this week. Safety Jonathan Abrams suffered a shoulder separation midway through the fourth quarter, didn't return. Cornerback Nate, and no update at this point, and he had a good game. Cornerback Nate Hobbs was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list Monday. Trayvon Mullen, another quarterback, was placed on injured reserve Monday with a toe injury. He's done for the year. Tight end Darren Waller and linebacker Denzel Perryman were inactive last week and are listed as questionable this week. I want the Broncos here, but I thought let's listen to Bebsie and hear what the chat has to say. So take it away, Bebsie. Broncos Raiders.
I can't back Drew Lock either. So I think you're smart to stay off of that. I wouldn't do it. I think the Raiders are the more unpredictable team here. And if Teddy's in, I bet the Broncos 100% in this. I just don't trust Drew Lock at all. Obviously, the Broncos didn't. They went out and got Teddy Bridgewater, and he is the starter. But it's also a tough spot. Like, when you see your quarterback go down in that way, or any player for that matter, it's hard to get up in that game. I wonder how much it carries over to the next game. Probably not that much. These guys see injuries all the time. But anytime it's kind of like the Donald Parham injury where it didn't look as bad as it ended up being. And those ones, like if somebody gets nailed and it looks like they should be knocked out, those don't faze me as much as the ones where they don't look that bad. Like the Parham one was terrifying because you're like, what happened? And he did. Yeah, he hit his head off the turf, but it didn't look as bad as the result. And I have that same apprehension here with the Teddy Bridgewater thing. I agree with Curtis Berry. I don't think he's playing, and I would be apprehensive for that reason. Also, I'm semi-apprehensive against betting the Las Vegas Raiders at home because the NFL wants them to win games at home. It's in the best interest of the league for them to win games, and for that reason, I would steer clear of the Broncos, and I personally am off this game entirely.
Let's take the quarterbacks, Derek Carr and Drew Lock, out of it. The Broncos are quite a bit better than the Raiders. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say you'd give them a slight advantage at most spots. I think the Jonathan Abram injury too is one that can't be overlooked. That guy's a super important piece of this Raiders defense. He's a hard-hitting trendsetter for that team. Thank you. But yeah, I would say top to bottom, the Broncos are a better football team, but I don't think they're so much better that Drew Lock can overcome what Carr can do. Carr doesn't quite get the same disrespect that Kirk Cousins does, and I do think Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Carr, but I also think Carr gets very little respect considering he's good. He's not great, but he's a good quarterback, and I think we need to stop shitting on Derek Carr.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with how he's handled all the issues that they've gone through. Very, very impressed with his character. I think that the Broncos are the play here. And I know this is an unpopular opinion right now. Let's see where the cash lies. I don't know if I mentioned it here. Just 706 tickets in. 54% of the tickets, 89% of the cash on the Broncos. Very small sample size. And 89% of tickets on the under. I think that I think that Drew Lock is obviously he's a cocky kid and he's a different breed of backup, but I think that it's better with him knowing he's going to be the starter all week rather than some players who you'd prefer not know and kind of just get thrown into the fire. I want him to know all week that he's the starter, take all the first team reps. I know he's a cocky kid, have that swagger about him. And look, I don't know. I think the Broncos are the play here. I think this is a buy low opportunity after what happened against Cincinnati. And I want to back them here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to move on it tonight because I think I can get a better number. And I want to see where the money goes. So I've got question marks beside it, but I expect to be on the Broncos come Sunday. Anything for you, or do we move on?
I'm off this game. I do think it'll be an entertaining divisional matchup. So I'm going to check in on this game a bunch, but I'm off it.
All right, we got Robert Cherry in the house. Robert, hate hearing that you're not feeling well. I know that you have gotten over COVID about 6 months ago, so I just pray that it's not that. But thinking about you and hope that you can start feeling better before Christmas. And stay in touch with me, man. Hope let's get you better. Get you better, my man. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's move on to the Sunday nighter. 2 games left on the card. We have Washington football team 6-7, 3-3 on the road at the Dallas Cowboys 10-4, 4-2 at home. We're at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Washington just lost 27-17. Let's just review quickly what happened in this game as it just finished a few minutes ago. Garrett Gilbert under center and didn't play too badly. 20 of 31 for 194 yards. The COVID issues that are affecting this Washington football squad are rough, and both their top 2 quarterbacks are out. Heineke, there was a chance that they could both come back, but Heineke and Kyle Allen are both out. So they're missing Curtis Samuel. He's been inactive, not COVID related, and he's still hurt and unlikely this week. J.D. McKissick has a concussion. He's been placed on injured reserve Tuesday. His season is over. Tim Settle, defensive tackle, has cleared protocols, so he was available. But here are the guys that were unavailable. Brandon Scherf, their guard. Klike Hudson, linebacker. Tyler Larson, center. Oh, Tyler, yeah, but he's been out with an Achilles injury anyway, so who cares? Cameron Curl, safety. Cornelius Lucas, offensive tackle. Derek Forrest, safety. Kendall Fuller, cornerback. Logan Thomas is still has the knee injury. We thought he was only going to be out for 1 week. They did further testing, revealing an ACL tear. So we expect him done for the season. So he's going to be done for the season. That's too bad. He was having a hell of a season. Gibson, by the way, with the Eagles knowing that Gilbert couldn't beat them, they filled the box. Gibson ran 15 times for 26 yards. Scary Terry did catch 2 passes for 51 yards, but an ugly game for Washington. And you can only hope that they have their quarterbacks healthy for this giant game against their biggest rival in the Cowboys. The Cowboys coming off yet another impressive performance in their 21-6 win at the Giants. Dak goes 28 of 37 for 217 yards and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz caught all 8 of his targets for 67 yards and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb had 6 receptions for 50 yards. Tony Pollard returned from injury, carried the ball 12 times for 74 yards. Zeke had 16 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. But it's just defense. 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits, forced 4 turnovers. Trayvon Diggs, league high 10th interception of the season. That's 1 shy of the 1981 record set by Everson Walls for the Cowboys. And then DeMarcus Lawrence looked awesome. He forced a fumble and then afterwards said this is the best defense he's played on in his 8 seasons. Jordan Lewis and Malik Hooker also had interceptions. Offensive tackle Tyron Smith missed a game with an ankle injury. But this is a healthy, dangerous group. Bebsie, Washington football team on a short week against a tough Dallas Cowboy squad. I don't know if I gave the number, but Cowboys opened -11. Now they're 10.5. This total opened up at 47.5. It's now available at 47. That seems high. 88% of the tickets and 98% of the cash. I think you're expecting me to say Dallas is on Washington. Only 1,412 tickets in. And then 97% of the cash is on the under. Take it away, Bebsie, Sunday night action, Washington, Dallas.
Well, I'm 100% on this under. I'd be on Dallas too if it wasn't a divisional matchup and Dallas wasn't struggling offensively as of late. It's just a little bit high for me to want to jump on that side, but I do think this under here is a gift. I don't see Washington being able to put up many points. Again, Dallas's offense is struggling. Their defense is playing very well. If I had to bet the side, I'd bet Dallas, especially with the injuries, short week for Washington. But look, Dallas is healthy. Not quite clicking offensively. Maybe they get right, but I'm not banking it on this being this week. So for that reason, I'm on the under. I lean Dallas, but just slightly too many points for me to want to bet.
It is off the board at 3 of the 4 books that I have open right now. So the only book that it's available to bet is at Circa. And Circa has moved it down to 46.5. Can anybody look at DraftKings for us or Bookmaker to help us line shop? That would be we'd be very thankful for that. But at this point, unless somebody in the chat can beat that line shopping for us, the under 46.5 at minus 105 at Circa is your best bet. I feel like this is scary because all the cash is coming in on the under. Why would the market have placed it at 47.5? I guess the models are basing it on year-long statistics for the Dallas Cowboys when clearly over the last few weeks they've looked weak offensively. And then we don't know what we're going to get from Washington with all the COVID issues. I mean, this seems like a slam dunk. I get why you're on it. I completely get why you're on it. The Cowboys have shown no reason why they're going to put up 40. So this all makes sense. I am Turnsy, my guy. I am happily here. Yeah, in LA. Under 46.5. We'll see if somebody in the chat can beat it, but that's what you got right now, Bebsie, and you are staying off the side?
I'm staying off the side. Again, until Dallas is clicking offensively, I can't put a ton of trust in them. And I believe Dallas come playoff time will be Dallas again. The Dallas we've come to know and love, just shitting the bed since 1995.
In Opfa did find the 47.5 at DraftKings. What's the juice in Opfa just for our record keeping here? Because that's the one guarantee we have for you. We have one guarantee, one lock, and that's that we will honestly track every bet that we make here and give it out whether or not we feel good about it or not. Not listed at Bookmaker. If anybody can give me a book with juice so that we can. So then in office saying that it's 47.5. There's real video in the house of 47.5 at DraftKings at minus 110 right now as we speak, and you can bet it. If that's the case, let's lock that in for Bebsie. Under 47.5 at minus 110 available at DraftKings. I'll have to see what it is when it says available at my book, but I imagine it'll open up at 46.5 at some point tonight. All right, let's move on to the Monday Nighter, the last game on these cards here. And this is a wild one. Very, 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 very wild. Slatsy says, Jimmy subdued in his library. Bebsie off the red wine. He says that he does miss me not yelling at the pigeons and says happy holidays. Much love to you, Slatsy. There's Nasty Nate in the house. All right, let's get to work. Miami Dolphins 7-7, 2-4 on the road. At the New Orleans Saints, 7-7, 2-4 at home. We're at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's see what we're dealing with from a market perspective. Again, this game is 6 days away, and Jesus, this total's dropping. This is the lowest total of the year now. Opened at 40.5 and is now sitting at 38.5. These Saints open up at -3, -115. That is so low. My goodness, lowest total of the year here. 1,033 tickets in, 38% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on the fish, 70% of the tickets, 98% of cash on the under. Wow. Dolphins coming off their 6th straight win, 31-24 at home over the Jets, an underwhelming victory that saw the Jets hold their first halftime lead of the season. The Dolphins became the second team in NFL history to go get to 7-7 after starting the season 1-7. I don't have the team in front of me, but it was in the early 70s when there was a 14-game schedule. So that team that made it to 7-7 did not make the playoffs. Terry Walker is on the Fish rants also in the chat, also backing these Miami Dolphins. Tagovailoa was 16-27 for 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Devontae Parker caught 4 passes for 68 yards. Duke Johnson came in off the practice squad and had 22 carries for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. We saw the same thing from Craig Reynolds in Detroit. And I just harken back to the Dennis Garcia idea that don't bother talking about running backs because they're very easily replaceable. And I hate saying that, because it's such a dangerous position that takes so many hits, and I want them to be rewarded for that. Earl Williams is on the other side. He's on the Saints. Jerome Baker had 7 tackles and 2 sacks. This defense of the Fish swarmed Zach Wilson, 6 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Cornerback Justin Coleman, safety Javon Holland are on the COVID list. Running back Philip Lindsay is activated from that COVID list. Will Fuller, by the way, suffered a setback with his finger, and he will not be returning this season. They haven't made it official. They're calling it unlikely just in case the Dolphins make a big run in the playoffs. But with Tua under center, we know that is unlikely. Saints coming off their second straight win, a second straight very impressive defensive performance, and a shocking 9-0 shutout of the defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers, despite playing without Sean Payton on the sideline. They beat the Bucs for the 7th straight time in the regular season, 4 straight times since Brady left New England for Tampa. That number 1 passing and scoring offense didn't score a point. That ended Brady's streak of 255 consecutive starts, including playoff games, without being shut out. Taysom Hill was 13-27 for 154 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Ran 11 times for 33 yards. That might sound bad, but Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram were combined to run 28. They ran for 28 yards on 20 carries. That's how bad they looked. Marquez Callaway caught 6 passes for 112 yards. Saints made Brady look very uncomfortable all night long. They sacked him 4 times. They hit him 6 times. Cameron Jordan had 2 of New Orleans' 4 sacks. That's over 100 for his career. He also forced a key fumble. It was the first time in Tom Brady's rich history that he lost to an opponent that didn't score a touchdown. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had 7 tackles and a pick. They again played without Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk, both out with knee injuries. I know Ramczyk tried to come back 2 weeks ago and wasn't able to, and he didn't try and come back this week. For the Saints, I'd just like to take a quick look at this most updated injury report, because there was some news that was coming in, and I just wanted to make sure we had the most recent information, and nothing. So it's just Ramczyk, Armstead, and Caden Ellis out and questionable. Here we go. Bebsie, the Monday nighter, the lowest total of the year at 38.5. Is it warranted? And how you betting it?
To be honest with you, I think this could still go under, and that would be my lean. Not going to make that official because it is so crazy low, but who puts up points here? Getting Waddle back will help. Getting Kamara back will help. But who puts up points against either one of these? Both these defenses are fantastic. And my lean is New Orleans because they're playing at home. Getting Peyton back will help, I think, more than anything. But again, like just the defensive prowess of both of these teams and the lack of offensive firepower suggests that as low as this is, I would still lean the under. I can't, and maybe there's a little bit of bias, I cannot agree with you and Dennis. Running backs do matter. Look at what's happened in Tennessee since Henry went down. There are certain systems that protect or maybe glorify mediocre running backs and make them look better than they are. But look at Miami. I mean, they can't get a running game going because they have a bunch of average to below average running backs there. Same thing in Buffalo. I think you'll see Kamara taking another step. And for that reason, I would lean the Saints as well, because I think the more he gets into the swing of it, we're gonna see some production from him. But I can't agree with you guys there. Maybe
I hear that, but just to jump in quickly there, the Titans ran for over 200 yards last week, and Donta Foreman ran for over 120.
Yeah, but that's the first productive running game since the first game after he went down. They did well the first week after he went down, and then they've been quiet in the running game since until this past week.
I agree it's a harsh take, and I know that you carried the ball in your day, so I can understand. I can understand not liking it, and then if you have an elite running back, it's very helpful to your squad, and we've seen that with the Titans over the last little while. Okay, I've heard your take on the Saints. What would the sharps look on the Dolphins be? Because they're clearly on the Dolphins right now.
Again, this is a surging team that, correct me if I'm wrong, they started out 1-7.
Yeah.
They're now 7-7. So 6 straight wins. A little bit, I think the team and maybe the fans in the league are getting behind Tua a little bit. Tua was kind of just, I think, unfairly judged. For me, Tua's talent has never really been the question. I think we all know what he can do. It's his ability to stay healthy that bothers me about drafting Tua that early. But I think the league's kind of getting used to the fact that Tua is a good football player. This team obviously likes him. And look, even when they've had bad games, Tua hasn't played poorly. It's not like he's been to blame. So I think they're coming around on that. And just the fact that this New Orleans team coming off that kind of a win where you shut out the champs, you shut out Tom Brady, and you still didn't score many points against a defense that, isn't great. The Tampa Bay defense is good. They're not exceptional. I think that might be more of an indictment on New Orleans as it is less so them propping up Miami.
Huh. I hear all of that. So you lean towards the under, and you lean towards the Saints at -3.
I do lean towards the Saints, and that has more to do with them being at home. And I heard that on I was watching Good Morning Football today, and I heard there's a good chance that Armstead and Ramczyk are back this week too.
Oh, wow. That would help this running game immensely. Interesting. So if you think that they're on it, or they're going to be back, then maybe the Saints is a bargain right now at 3. Curtis Berry says, plus Bebsie hit on it. Where's the running game for Miami? Saints are going to control the clock and play aggressive defense. Harold Williams says, win streak snapped. Saints win. Terry Walker agrees the Saints are the look. Curtis Berry says Dolphins offense has matchup problems. Armchair MMA says it depends when Hill gets the rush yards. If he's getting first downs, this probably goes under. If the Finns have more possession, then I could see this being in the 40s. Curtis Berry is on the Bounty Gate Saints, and Turnsy's on the Miami team total over and the +3. I took a look at what the team total would be if I bet it right now. I bet 365. It's at 16.5, but it's heavily juiced to the over. -135 to the over, +105 to the under. And Trusty says, I think this is an over spot, but I hate this game. All right, there you go. That is the Monday Nighter. No official look here. We are 6 days before action, and with all of the COVID issues right now, I can understand not making anything official or betting this tonight. Although there is a lot of action on this card right now, mainly from Bebsie. I'm pretty hesitant, but I want the Niners. I want the Niners at the Titans. I'm a little uncomfortable with that hook on the 3, and I may not bet it tonight. I may just stare at it. So that's the Thursday Nighter. When we get to Saturday, I have interest in the Browns' first half. I think it's a sneaky look here, and I want to see who's in. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but I should tell you that I won't bet it if I don't have Baker under center. I don't want Nick Mullins over there in the cold at Lambeau, 33 Fahrenheit, chance of snow showers, 10 miles per hour. Then Bebsie gets on the board with the Colts, plus 108 available at Circa. Colts plus 108 available at Circa. Then that's the Saturday action. On Sunday, nothing for Lions, Falcons at this point. Bebsie's on the Ravens money line at plus 118. So there's Bebsie's second straight money line plus spot after the Colts. So then the Ravens at plus 118. And I'm going to move on the Ravens as well. I'm not sure if I'll take the points or the money line, but I will be moving on them as well. Then we have, I want to see what this line for the Vikings is. I know it's going to come out at some point tonight. I don't know if anyone has one available. And still off the board right now. So I'd like to back. I think it's a very, very difficult spot for the Rams. Then Bebsie's on the Pats, minus 2.5 and minus 104. That's available at Pinnacle right now. Jets, Jags, we've stayed off. And Bebsie moved on the under 42.5 and Giants, Eagles. I like that under. I also like the Giants team total under. Then nothing for Tampa, Carolina at this point. Nothing for Chargers, Texans, but Bebsie at the end of it started talking about the over. Birdie beat this market move by 3.5 points, and I know he was asking about the over because he was thinking of going for a middle because it's gone down to 44. And I think, and then off of saying Vikings are minus 3 at minus 120, it attached to the Vikings plus 2.5. So if you guys could let me know, we know that, with the travel spot for the Rams, that Vikings are going to be much lower than people expect them to be. I think it was a really nice breakdown of Chargers Texans. I think that if you were coaching the Chargers, maybe, and obviously it's plus 3. Okay, plus 3 at minus 120. Texas Vikings plus 2.5. If I can get a plus 3 on the Vikings, I'd bet it. I'd bet it. Then with the Chargers Texans right now, I think the massive injuries to both teams, to key members of both teams' defense, means there's going to be points scored. I think I move on this over right away. Bebsie, after hearing that and knowing that this was basically kind of your thought process that we're agreeing with, and Birdie too, who beat the market move, and I know that's why he was asking. He was looking for a middle. Do you now have interest in this over or not yet?
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
What's it at right now?
Let's just see what it's at right now. It's at 45.5 right now at Bet 365, and let's see what Pinnacle's hanging at. If Pinnacle's hanging at Pinnacle, they're not hanging it yet. We'll have to wait on that. At Circa, it's at 45.5 too. It's at 45.5 at both books.
Let me ponder that for a minute.
Bebsie's on the under 44 at minus 110 and Bears, Seattle Seahawks. I could have got that under 43 before the show started at my book and bet it, but I got a little caught up in the capping and then the game started. And then Bebsie's on the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City Chiefs under 44.5 at minus 110 at Bet 365. I like the Steelers and I like that under, and it's available right now at a book I can bet immediately, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that as soon as possible. I do like the Broncos here. And I can understand the fear associated with backing Drew Lock, and I'm not going to bet it tonight, but I may be betting it soon. Then Bebsie's on the under 47.5 at minus 110 at DraftKings in Washington, Dallas, and I've got 5 stars in the tail written beside it. I want in. Then we are off the Monday nighter right now, Dolphins Saints, but I do believe there will be action. Bebsie, our last show until Christmas. I love capping with you. Have a happy holidays, my friend, and let's get that cash. Thank you to all of the cappers joining us here on Tuesday, December 21st. I hope you all have a happy holidays. Tasha, in Opfa, Curtis Berry, Robert Cherry. Robert, I hope you start feeling better, my man. Puzzler, Dennis Trusty, Terry Walker, Paul Robinson, Harrell Williams, Jared TG, Armchair MMA. Great group. Great group. Rants, thank you. Nasty Nate, Slatsy, Viral Video. Thank you guys all so much for capping with us. Your humor, insights is so important and so helpful for the show. We know how special it is. Bebsie, any last words here in our last show before Christmas?
Nothing beyond. I hope all you lovely cappers enjoy a happy and safe, wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you post Christmas. And I hope you guys, if you celebrate it, I hope you have a lovely one. But yeah, stay safe out there. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you being here every week.
Yeah, it means the world to us. Let's go. Week 16 is here. 3 more weeks of the regular season. And time to get that cash. I know there's a lot of moving parts with COVID, but I liked how we broke it all down. We discussed the important parts and the COVID issues and the injuries and the angles, and we capped it together. And it's been 8 straight winning weeks. Let's make it 9. Let's have a giant week. On behalf of all of us here at Pub Sports Radio, thank you so much for your support. Del, my man on the 1s and 2s, thank you for producing the show and doing the graphics for us while our guy Jose is watching his Roadrunners lose. Let's get that cash. Let's shake. Hey, those bookmakers. Del, you can shut this baby down, my man.